Guys, today modern AI is quite advanced, except two problems. It is censored and it takes your information. Well, it's hard to find a tech company that don't, but let me introduce you to one. Shout out to my sponsor, Venice AI, which allows you to protect your information and avoid censorship. Now ask yourself, why should a team of programmers at these leading AI apps be the ones to decide what is okay for you to ask and think? Also, would you be comfortable if the presidential administration could govern what AI tells you? Man, I know I wouldn't. But also, while you think about that, did you know that? Let me tell you this, it's gonna be crazy, but ChatGPT has a former director of the NSA sitting on their board right now, guys. And shout out to that man, Edward Snowden.
All right, let's go.
This a willful, calculated betrayal of the rights of every person on Earth. And we all know how Alexa is. Alexa listens to us and recommends products based on our conversations. I mean, talk about a violation of privacy. But guys, these are just a few reasons I decided to team up with Venice AI and get you a better options or solutions to your AI needs. Now, guys, you can go ahead and check these guys out with my promo code. So shout out to Venice AI. Now, if you want to use AI without fear of handing over your most intimate thoughts to a corporation or government, you can get 20% off a pro plan using my link, Venice AI SET, and use the code SET. Man, so shout out, guys. So make sure you guys use the code. Put it up one more time for you guys right there. Once again, guys, if you guys want to go ahead and have unleashed AI, uncensored AI, go ahead and tap in with my guys at Venice AI, guys. Hey, this is SET and appreciate the support. And shout out to the sponsor. All right, and we are back, guys, and we are live. Yo, this is SET with SET Media, guys, and I'm back with another one for you. All right, guys, we're about to go ahead and recap Trump's press engagements for today, and then we're going to get on to more details about Charlie Kirk's assassin and the messages that he was sending to his, transgender boyfriend. All right, guys, let's get right into it.
Okay.
Thank you,
Do you have
sir.
any? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. No, thank you very much. Great job. Any questions, please?
Yes.
Yeah, Brian.
First of all, you've got to.
Did they take down the blue tent?
Yes, sir.
Last time he hit me with a blue tent and nobody knew what he was talking about. We found out, right? And he was gone the next day, and they had a lot of. That was not so easy. They had, that's a violent radical left group. Okay, go
I
ahead.
got peppered with a lot of comments for doing that. They still have their First Amendment right, though. They're still out there protesting.
well, I'm not
You've got an amazing team behind you. You've done an awesome job for DC. I want to get ahead of a story that I think might come out. You pushed out an email earlier today, really showing dozens and dozens of local media in Memphis highlighting all of the violent crime in that city. So they have no problem reporting the crime, but when you show up to solve it, they're going to run around town looking for that one person that says, we don't want Donald Trump in our city. What can you say to the media there in Memphis, Tennessee, to help let them know the people want you there in their city?
Well, I'm not sure they found that person, because I saw them doing some interviews, and it looked like they were looking, but they were in fact, that producer, that person, I think they lost their jobs because everybody was saying, we want Trump to be there. They want the people right here to be there. Look, it's very simple. In Chicago, they're getting beat to hell. They're being shot. If you lose 6 or 7 people die over a weekend, they consider that a successful weekend. And when you consider that a successful weekend, that's pretty bad. I had the president of Poland.
Because the gangs are out of control and they're realizing that no amount of police funding or adding to the police force can really help it. But maybe the National Guard can. And you know what? It's worth the try.
Here a few days ago, and we had a news conference. Many of you were here. And I made the statement. I said, we're very happy to announce that it's been over 2 weeks since anybody's been killed in D.C. And he looked at me like, is that supposed to be good? He's looking like, what kind of a place is this? And now it's been a long time, but And as I was saying it, I said, I'm not sure if that sounds good to somebody. It sounded great to you, but it doesn't sound good to somebody from a country where they don't have violent crime like we have. Yeah. But now it's a long time since that's happened. We went for years.
It's like saying, Chicago isn't even that high up in the murder rate. Yeah, that sounds good to you, but it doesn't sound good to somebody who's, in Southside Chicago. I mean, why don't you go say that to them? I mean, let's be honest. You probably get slapped.
At least one person was killed. Now you're not seeing it all. It's like the border. Millions of people a year ago, millions of people poured into our country. In the last 3 months, there have been zero, as reported by largely Democrats, actually. The border is secure. The country is secure. We've got the hottest country anywhere in the world. And I'll tell you, a year ago, we were a country in tremendous trouble, probably a dead country if it continued. So we're very happy about it. And so just, in terms of your question, people have never seen anything like what we're doing. And I think they're very happy. And they want us to be there. They don't want to be mugged. Who would say, gee, I don't want the National Guard? And you need that in terms of numbers. And also, you look at those guys, I looked at them, they're rough guys. They're, the Supreme Court voted recently on merit. We're a merit-based country again. I said they had tremendous courage to do that. We're a merit-based country again. When I looked at the people that were patrolling the streets for the National Guard and for others, I could see we're merit-based. They were rough-looking, they were tough-looking, and they love our country. So that's where we are, Brian. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, please.
Yes. Given all the that's going on with Charlie Kirk's assassination and the left-wing, a lot of left-wing violence going on, do you have plans, and actually this is a great opportunity with all these, do you plan on designating Antifa finally a domestic terror organization?
Well, it's something I would do, yeah. If I have support from the people back here, I think we'd start with Pam, I think. But I would, if you give me, I would do that 100%, and others also, by the way.
I mean, if we could trace violent crimes back to them, just like we did with the cartels, yeah, we can name them a terrorist organization for sure.
Antifa is terrible.
Are there other groups that you can think of?
There are other groups, yeah. There are other groups. We have some pretty radical groups, and they got away with murder. And also, I've been speaking to the Attorney General about bringing RICO against some of the people that you've been reading about that have been putting up millions and millions of dollars for agitation. These aren't protests. These are crimes, what they're doing, where they're throwing bricks at cars of ICE and Border Patrol. And they come in with a beautiful new car. They're so proud. It's Border Patrol, ICE, it's got whatever it is. And they're throwing rocks at it. And after 50 yards, it looks like an old beat-up vehicle. It was just brand new. It was just bought for the purposes. And they don't have to take that anymore. I let it be known. We'll take responsibility.
Oh, God, let's remember to double tap that screen, like the video, guys. Let's get more people on the conversation by double tapping that screen. And these protesters don't know that it's their taxpayer dollars that will be paying for these damaged ICE vehicles. I know, right? Surprise, surprise.
Responsibility. They don't have to take it anymore. And they don't want to take it. They were told by a past administration, it became almost a culture. If somebody throws a rock at you, do nothing. If somebody spits in your face, do nothing. And I say, when they spit, you hit. Do whatever you want. You do whatever the hell you want. I watched it so sick, it made me. For 4 years, I had to sit home and watch people screaming at policemen and spitting in their face, and they weren't able to do anything. They just had a grin and bear it. They're standing up like a piece of steel. And a woman, in many cases, women, you can see they're professional agitators. I had one the other night. I had 4 the other night, all in one group, total phonies. I started to scream when I got into a restaurant, something with Palestine. I said, well, I'm doing a great job for peace in the Middle East. I should get lots of awards for that, right? With the Abraham Accords and everything else. But a woman just stood up and started screaming. And she got booed out of the place, too. There were a lot of people in the restaurant. I went there to show how safe, and it was safe. I mean, the woman is just a mouthpiece. All she was a paid agitator. And you have a lot of them. And I've asked Pam to look into that in terms of RICO, bringing RICO cases against the criminal RICO, because they should be put in jail. What they're doing to this country is really subversive.
Is that
Yeah.
Mr. President? Can I ask you one on crime, Mr. President? Can I ask you
Yeah,
one on
sure.
crime and one on Charlie Kirk?
ahead.
You floated potentially going into St. Louis. You mentioned you want to go into Chicago next. Could St. Louis be after Chicago?
It's going to be around there someplace. Yeah, we got to save St. Louis. Got to save these cities.
Yeah, I'm telling you, even in the red, bro. Yes, we gotta save the. Yeah, we gotta save some of these cities from Democrat leadership. Because, like I said, the Democrats will say, "What about the red states?" And yeah, I know, but here's the problem: that the cities in these red states that have the highest crime are ran by Democrats. I mean, your guys' leadership is terrible. Maybe you guys should focus on good leadership instead of wild rhetoric. Maybe that should be something you guys should pick up.
This isn't like, we're going to do something. We have to save St. Louis. We have to save Chicago. I know all about Chicago. I have a great, beautiful building. I'm so proud of it. But, you get less proud when you see all the crime. When they announced 2 weeks ago, 11 people killed, this is over a weekend. I think they said 38 people shot and 11 people dead. And then you watch Pritzker get up and say, we've got crime under control. And I will say that Cash and the FBI did a good job. With a very light force, they went in, and for about 4 months, Cash or so, they've been working on keeping crime down. They have brought the numbers down a little bit. But those are the easy numbers. The first 20, 25% are the easy numbers. That's where it gets. Then you have to bring in the big forces, right, which is what we always intended to do. But I think the FBI's done a very good job. In particular, in Memphis and Chicago, they brought it down a little bit. Like 20% and 25%. Well, I guess it's not so little, but we have a long way to go. We think Chicago is going to be next, and we'll get to St. Louis also.
And on Charlie Kirk's assassination.
And New Orleans, we want to get to, too.
Your FBI is investigating the potential role of left-wing organizations in the assassination. I'm wondering if Charlie Kirk's assassin worked alone or if he worked with it.
I don't know. I mean, I can tell you he didn't work alone on the internet, because it seems that he became radicalized on the internet. That's just by watching same things that you're watching and hearing. It looks like he became radicalized over the internet. And it seems like he has wonderful parents, brought in a wonderful neighborhood, smart guy, great boards, great marks, great student. And then something happened to him over a fairly short period of time. It looks like he was radicalized over the internet, and it's radicalized on the left. He's a left. I have a lot of problems with the left, and they get protected, and they shouldn't be protected. But as you understand, I think very well from the tone of your question. Thank you very much.
On Venezuela, let's turn on Israel. First on Venezuela, what can you tell us about this Venezuelan boat that was taken out? And do you plan to provide proof that these were narcos?
A lot of people are complaining about, when do we ever just bomb narcos and all that good stuff? Come on, now we're supposed to lock them up and give them their due process. Well, I guess you guys forgot when he designated the cartel terrorist organizations. I mean, and when do we ever need to give these guys due process? I mean, ask the Houthis. I mean, ask Iran. I mean, ask the Hamas. Do I need to give more examples of terrorists that we just bomb willy-nilly? Okay, then.
Terrorists who were on their way to the U.S.
Well, we have proof. All you have to do is look at the cargo that was it's spattered all over the ocean. Big bags of cocaine and fentanyl all over the place. And it was, plus we have recorded evidence that they were leaving. We've recorded them. It was very careful because we know you people would be after us. We're very careful. The military has been amazing. And General Kane showed me a little while ago the clip, but you could actually see it. But you don't have to see it because we have recorded proof and evidence. We know what time they were leaving, when they were leaving, what they had, and all of the other things that you'd like to have. But we have noticed that there are no ships in the ocean anymore. We're seeing that there's no ships, when the first one we went, there were hundreds of boats. Now there are no boats. I wonder why, meaning no drugs are coming across, probably stopping some fishermen too. I mean, to be honest, if I were a fisherman, I wouldn't want to go fishing. Just a nice, let's take a little trip, because I'd say, man, maybe they think I have drugs downstairs. I don't want that. I think the fishing business probably been hurt, but there are literally no boats. This was a boat, and we were surprised to see it. Now, what does that mean? That means there's no drugs coming by sea, but they do come by land.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? We're telling the cartels right now, we're going to be stopping them too. When they come by land, we're going to be stopping them the same way we stop the boats.
Ooh.
And you'll see that. But maybe
Pretty much Trump saying you can get bombed on sea and land. It's like, don't matter if you're going through the jungle or whatever. We will find you and we will stop you. Right there and then.
maybe by talking about it a little bit, it won't happen. If it doesn't happen, that's good.
Problem.
But they killed 300,000 people in our country last year. And we're not letting it happen anymore.
And then on Israel, did Bibi Netanyahu speak to you directly to alert you that Israel was going to be striking
No.
Hamas sites in
No,
Qatar?
he didn't. No, he didn't. Yeah, go ahead.
How did you learn of it?
Same way you did. Go ahead, please.
You mentioned that the shooter was radicalized online.
I think so. You know, by the way, when I say that, that's my opinion. I think he was radicalized online based on what they're saying.
Do social media companies bear any responsibility for that? And how does that?
I'm going to have to ask. I don't know. I'd ask Pam that question. I don't know if you or Todd could give an answer to that. Somebody has to bear some responsibility.
You know, and President Trump, I've always told parents, you got to watch what your kids are doing on the internet, what they're doing online, what they're listening to, what they're reading. They're all online. They're all on their phones all the time. Parents have got to monitor that because this starts when you're young. This starts when you're young, when you listen to these groups, when you watch these shows. And parents have got to just be vigilant. So sure, that's part of it. And they're meeting kids online who they think are kids, and they can be anywhere in the world and talking to them. And yeah, they are being radicalized.
Mr. President.
He went bad, and he just went bad very quickly in a sense, because he sort of led a very normal life. A life of, great education.
Of course, grew up in Utah, conservative household, six-bedroom household, brothers and sisters, straight A student, scholarship. And then he goes onto the internet. All of a sudden, he's gay. He got a transgender furry boyfriend who's, transitioning into a girl. So, hey, crazy, right?
Asian schools, everything else. But somewhere along the line, something happened. Yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. How will you send the National Guard into Chicago without cooperation of the governor and mayor?
Well, if they do cooperate, that's good. If they don't, it's not going to matter to us at all. You know who wants to help us? Police department. They have no respect for the governor. They have no respect for the mayor. They respect us. And we found that in Washington. We haven't had total support in Washington from government, as you know, from everybody. I don't want to say the mayor because she was better than most, but we haven't had great, but we have had great support from the Metropolitan Police. They're like brothers of these people. They're really like brothers. You see that. They work together. And so
and shout out to Hellbat. He says, hot take. Hitler was more globalist than nationalist. We will, as a whole different conversation for another live, my friend.
Shout out Hellbat. Wants to support, as I said to Bill, it's going to be his proudest moment. What he's going to do, the governor of Tennessee, what's going to happen with Memphis. In 3-4 weeks, we'll stand together and we'll say, look at this. The crime is almost disappeared.
And shout out my man, Louis Venezuela. He said, femboys are out of control. Yeah, apparently they discovered some type of trans Antifa group. Like their logo is literally some trans guy like loaded up with a gun and hella ammo around him, like a trans Rambo. I know it was quite the sight to see.
Maybe completely disappeared. In Washington, they don't even know how to record it because it's down so much. They've never heard. I heard 87% is down. I said, really? Who are the 13%? Because it's more than that. It's actually more.
But hey, though, shout out to Trans Tifa, right?
Hard to believe, right? You're going to have the same results in Chicago. And we hope we have the governor's help. But if we don't, we're doing it without him.
And on social media, Mr. President, you had the framework that's been agreed to with TikTok, for example. Will China continue to have a stake in the company?
Well, we haven't decided that, but it looks to me, and I'm speaking to President Xi on Friday for confirmation of that. And, frankly, more importantly, a big deal. And we've had very good meetings. As you know, we were in Europe, our people, Scott Bessent and Jameson Greer and others. And it was a very big meeting with China. And, they're treating us with respect. We treat them with respect, too. But it was very successful. And on top of it, we have what could be a very good deal. Don't forget, I've had more people say, could you try and keep TikTok alive? I use TikTok. I mean, I have to admit it in the election, and look how I did with youth. No Republicans come close. I blew everyone away. You know, if you look back not so long ago, Romney, he got like 7%.
Every time he says that, he reminds me of TikTok and how well he did with the youth. It just says, well, I just hear this echo in my head that says, because of Charlie. And it was all because of Charlie Kirk, and that's the facts. Charlie Kirk pretty much won the youth for Trump. Shout out. And shout out my man Maine. He says Trantifa have letters on their bullets. Yeah, so yep, Trantifa, common sign, letters on the bullet. Well, I'm be real. All right, come on, guys. We're joking, but the Trantifa stuff is starting to land a little bit. Like, look, we were joking, but now y'all starting to make it true.
Of the youth, I got like 8 times that amount. I got tremendous numbers of youth. By the way, I want to say Charlie helped me. And Charlie was the one, get on TikTok. He used to say to me, get on TikTok. Charlie was unbelievable. So probably, and I did. I had somebody named TikTok Jack. And he'd put that camera, he said, just a real quick statement, sir, like 10 seconds or less. They didn't like anything over 10 seconds, but it worked. But Charlie is the one that really, and my son Barron also. And I have to say, Don, Eric, the whole group, it's important. And it can maybe even bring us closer to China. We had a very good meeting with China. I was surprised. I didn't expect it to that extent. And I'm going to speak again with President Xi on Friday. And, you know, I think that'll.
Well, when you'd expose to the entire Chinese people, especially their government, that, yeah, you know, you kind of need us to sustain your whole economic system, right? I mean, on paper, we're about 16% of your exports. But the reality is that we're 30 because, you know, we don't count the products that you send to other countries to get relabeled to send into America so you can avoid tariffs. And, you know, once we kind of expose that, we start seeing their economy just fall apart, mass, like what was it? Mass stock up of products on the port, mass shutdowns of, well, factories, mass layoffs, all happening within those tragic 2 months of that trade war.
Firm things up.
On Charlie Kirk and crime. On Charlie Kirk, do you plan to speak at the funeral, and what would your message be?
Well, I'm going on Sunday. We're taking a whole plane load, and having. I was invited on Saturday, but I said I'd rather save it for Sunday. You know, we're going to have a stadium, and I'll bet that stadium is going to be pretty packed, maybe completely packed. It's going to be big, but I'm going to be at the stadium, and I guess I'll say a few words. I don't know, but I guess I will. But I knew him very well. He was an amazing guy. He was all about young people, getting them started right, and he was like a magnet for young people. They just attracted to him. He loved them, and they attracted to him. His wife is a tremendous person, by the way. He always had great respect for his wife. He got married. I didn't know he was getting married. I heard he got married, and he loved her. He really loved her. She loved him, and I think she'll have something to do with keeping that whole thing going. You know, Turning Point it became a very big deal, and I heard they had like 38,000. So he wanted to get it up to 20,000 chapters. That's a lot. That would have been a lifetime's work. I heard that over the last 4 days, they have 30.
I mean, they try to call the man racist, but he had a black conservative youth group. I mean, if he was so racist, why is he trying to include people in, well, honestly, high positions in his organization? And ain't it kind of crazy how, well, the right prop up more political pundits, you know, black political pundits than the left do, and they kind of just got the whole, you know, all white people thing going on. But, you know, the conservatives are the racists, though. But they're the racists, you know. It's a little funny. It's a little funny how I just noticed that.
8,000 people wanted 38,000 chapters at colleges, schools, other places. Numbers that, you know, nobody's ever heard of numbers like that. So I think Turning Point could be, you know, through what happened, this horrible act, it could be maybe bigger than it could have ever been had he been there. And I will say this, he'd be very happy if he saw what was going on. And there's some very good people, because I speak at Turning Point quite a bit, and Charlie would call me up. So the last time I spoke to him, he said, sir, and I think it was Phoenix, Sir, could you get to Phoenix? This was like in a day. I said, Charlie, I'm the president of the United States. You called me asking me if I could speak tomorrow in Phoenix. You can't do that to me, Charlie. But usually I ended up going. He was great. He was a great guy, and he didn't deserve this. He didn't deserve this, believe me.
Mr. President, Ilhan Omar, after his assassination, called Charlie Kirk a reprehensible human being. Should she be stripped of her committee assignments?
I would say, I think she's a disgraceful person. You know, I think she's a disgraceful person, a loser. It's amazing the way people vote. I know it's people from her area, maybe of the world. I don't know. They got here and they vote her in. It's hard to believe, but I think she's a disgusting person.
And one more question, if I could. A lot of these, in recent of these trans shooters that we've seen over the last couple incidents, this flag right here is up and down 14th Street. This is what would be the trans flag. A lot of people are very threatened by this flag. It means a lot of different negative things to people, violence. Would you be opposed to taking this flag down up and down the streets of DC?
Well, I wouldn't be. Then they'll sue and they'll get freedom of speech stuff, you know, so that'll happen. But I would have no problem with it. I will say, and Steve might just mention this, Todd, you might mention it too, because we're putting out an order. You know, freedom of speech means you can burn the American flag, which I think is horrible. But I noticed something over the last little while. You know, as you do this.
I would say this: the trans flag is starting to mean something else besides chicks with dicks and girls with no tits. It's starting to mean something a little more different. It's starting to seem more like the party of, well, I mean, the flag of what? Political violence and child mutilation. I know, right? I know, but hey.
You start noticing things that you wouldn't normally
Something
think.
I noticed.
It really causes unrest and violence when they burn American flag. So the American flag, I wanted anybody burns the American flag, go to jail based on freedom of speech, goes to jail immediately. But the freedom of speech protected them, right? And so, and that's been argued a couple of times. And, you know, it's one of those things. But you know what? Hasn't been argued, and we're going to be arguing it, I think, very soon. And that's the violence. They incite violence. So when I saw it just yesterday, they burned the American flag, and people that were there were fine. And all of a sudden they're going crazy and there's fist fights. It wasn't in Memphis either. But
oh God, let's remember to double tap that screen like the video, guys. We'll get over 1,000 y'all in here, guys. So let's remember to double tap that screen.
I will say that it incites violence. And I think you just do the exact same thing. Don't use freedom of speech. Use the incitement of violence. I mean, it's really, you got to see, these people were going at it. And, you know, you could burn other things and people just sit there, they fall asleep. You burn the American flag and on both sides. But the level of violence I saw this flag burning cause was incredible. It was an incitement. So I hope you guys are going to be able to do that, man. Right?
Well, there's also groups called Trans-Tifa. So perhaps
yep.
if you can
flag
label
burning.
a domestic terrorist group, then you can, in all reality, you could take that flag down because it would represent the Trans-Tifa.
I think you probably could. Again, you'll be sued and.
No, I'm just going to touch on this real quick when it comes to flag burning. Now, I do understand, you know, freedom of speech and all that good stuff. But if you are doing it in a public setting in front of people, let's be real, you are inciting violence in a way, unless you're doing it with a large crowd who's believing in what you're doing. So you're a bit protected. But then you might be damn near causing a whole mob violence at the same time, too. So I don't know. Is it really worth it? You know, just my question to you guys.
It's okay. I've been sued before a couple of times. You may have seen.
It is what it is.
Netanyahu said that he doesn't rule out targeting Hamas.
And shout out to Nothing Killer. He says Charlie Kirk, undefeated champion. Shoot a debate. I'm telling you, undefeated champion, bro. Somebody go bring him his WWE diamond-studded belt.
Anywhere they are. You said that you don't want to see Qatar hit again. Are there any guarantees that Qatar?
Well, he won't be hitting in Qatar, as I say. I call it Qatar. You call it Qatar. You're actually more right, but actually you're allowed to go. The Emir said you can say it any way you want, but I've always thought of it as Qatar. I think it's a beautiful sound, and actually they've been a very good ally.
They have,
and a lot of people don't know that. But he won't be hitting Qatar, but he will be. Maybe going after. Now, there was an article that I read in a newspaper just about an hour ago.
Look, all I can say is that when Israel bombed Qatar, that was the end of diplomacy. Now there is no getting the hostages back for Israel, and they're just about to go ahead and just move in on Gaza.
Where Hamas said they're going to use the 20 hostages as human shields. They're going to bring them up from the dark tunnels, and they're going to put them in the line of fire so that if Israel goes forward, they're going to die. And I thought that was very terrible. And I put out a statement on that. You saw that.
Mr. President, I want Charlie Kirk, in retrospect, given all of the moving ways that this White House has paid tribute to Charlie Kirk,
Right.
do you think it would have been fitting to lower the flags to have staff when Melissa Hortman, the Minnesota House Speaker, was gunned down by an assassin as well?
I'm not familiar. Oh,
The Minnesota House Speaker, a Democrat, was assassinated this summer.
Well, if the governor had asked me to do that, I would have done that. But the governor of Minnesota didn't ask me. I didn't. I wouldn't have thought of that, but I would have if somebody had asked me. People make requests for the lowering of flag, and oftentimes you have to say no because it would be a lot of lowering. The flag would never be up. Had the governor of Minnesota asked me to do that, I would have done that gladly.
And given the killing of Melissa Hortman, the attack on Paul Pelosi, the attack on Gabby Giffords, the attack on the Pennsylvania governor's mansion, why make the case that violence is only on one side? It seems to be taking place.
I didn't say it's on one side, but I say the radical left causes tremendous violence, and they seem to do it in a bigger way.
Yeah, he never said it was on one side. He just says that the rhetoric of the left has honestly caused violence. And the problem is, y'all haven't calmed it down. Like I said, y'all call this man fascist. Y'all said they spread hate, when really you just disagree with them. They don't spread hate. They're not white supremacists. They're not fascists. They're not the next Hitler. They're not nothing. You just disagree with them. So you got to radicalize them for some reason.
But the radical left really is caused a lot of problems for this country. I really think they hate our country. Okay, yeah, please.
This may be related to the RICO work that you're doing, and I'd like to confirm.
And we are really looking at that seriously.
Vice President Vance was speaking with Stephen Miller earlier today about targeting.
And you know what? Let me tell you something about the radicals on the right, since y'all think y'all know about the radicals on the right. All the radicals on the right are worried about is being white and Christian. No, literally, that's their whole goddamn shit. They're not even worried about the left. Like, honestly, bro, the radical right already went out there and created a whites-only community. That's all radical whites. They just want to be left alone to be white and Christian. Your radical left want to, like, pretty much destroy debate and make everybody bow to their whim of what they want the United States to be, which is our best, apparently a social commie utopia. Really a socialist utopia. I ain't even gonna add the communists in there.
NGOs that they were saying foment violence.
Right.
Is that? Can you speak more to that? And what NGOs specifically are you looking to target?
A number of them. Steve, please.
Yeah, so I think what you're referring to is there are these nonprofit entities that organize, as the president mentioned, attacks on ICE officers, attacks on Border Patrol agents, organized doxing campaigns, which are a violation of federal law. They break off cement, and they bring into riots. They have organized drop points for weapons, organized drop points for gas masks, organized drop points for all the materials necessary to launch a riot. Of course, you saw that during the Black Lives Matter riots as well, too. So there's this whole network of organizations. And I think the key point the president's been making is somebody is paying for all of this. This is not happening for free. And so under the president's direction, the attorney general is going to find out who is paying for it, and they will not be criminally liable for paying for violence.
And you know, a new thing that I've been seeing a lot of lately, but never saw it before, is they're walking in with bricks and rocks and everything. And the FBI or the Border Patrol or ICE or the police are grabbing them and taking them away, and that's great. And then they whip out a hammer, and it's a beautiful hammer, really. It's nice. You know, this is not a hammer somebody happens to have. These are serious hammers, beautiful, brand new hammers. And they start breaking up the concrete sidewalks and the granite curbs in many cases. Granite is hard to cut, you know, it's very hard stone. And they're banging away and handing out pieces of stone. So instead of having it in bags, they're banging the sidewalk, knocking that. You have to see what some of these sidewalks look like when they finish, and especially the curbs, because the granite curbs are very, very expensive, and they're great, and you know, very hard. They are almost indestructible, but not when it gets pounded on for 20 minutes by some pretty strong guy. and then they hand out big chunks of stone so that people can throw them.
Once again, will be repaired by taxpayer money. And it's a funny thing because it was either illegals or taxpayers that are the one breaking this stuff up.
At the police, and people can drop them off bridges into car windows. No, we have a long way to go, and we're going to make it all good. We're going to make it really safe. This country is going to be safe. We've got almost 3.5 years. Think of that, 3.5 years. It's a long time. It goes quickly. But at the end of that time, I hope one of the many things we can say is that we made our cities safe again. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
And all right, now we're going to go ahead and go on to Trump's next speaking engagement, into what I was talking about, the radicals on the right. Yes, I'm talking about more about your Nick Fuentes. And if you want to go really far to the right, we're going to go with, what's his name? Paul Walker? That's his name? Paul Miller. No, his name is Paul Miller. Yeah, that guy who just says the N-word recklessly. I mean, we got our radicals on the right, and trust me, they do not want not that much beef with you guys. They're trying to walk away from you. I mean, shoot, they're trying to walk away from everybody, to be quite honest with you. And honestly, I don't agree with anything they say. I'm just letting you know who our radicals on the right are, because they agree with about 80% of what we talk about. But that 20% is really critical, because they believe in white first. We're America first.
And all of the papers, and Steve Byron is now on.
If you believe in the independence, the Federal Reserve ground offensive is now underway in Gaza City. Your reaction to it?
So we're going to see what happens, because I hear Hamas is trying to use the old human shield deal, and if they do that, they're going to be in big trouble. They're going to be in big trouble. They put it out 2 days ago that they're going to use the hostages as human shields. That's something that hasn't done for a long time, you know.
Let me
tell you, if they do that, they're in big trouble.
Who do you believe the Federal Reserve is an independent body? What do you think about the independence?
It should be, but I think they should listen to smart people like me. I think I have a better instinct than him. If you look, all the economists got it wrong. I got it right, along with one other people out of 100.
Abolish the Federal Reserve. I'm always going to stand on that. I don't like how an entity that the government can't control, the people don't have no say in, pretty much just control our, monetary system.
They should listen to people that are smart. Nothing wrong with that. But they have to make their own choice. But they should listen.
Before the invasion, did you speak to a Prime Minister Netanyahu?
No idea.
What about the idea of Israel beginning this ground offensive in Gaza City? Do you support that?
Well, I have to see. I mean, I don't know too much about it. I can tell you that if they put the hostages in front of them, Hamas, as protection, as what they call them, bodyguards, Hamas is going to have hell to pay.
Your trip to the UK today, what do you hope to achieve?
Well, my relationship is very good with the UK, and Charles, as you know, who's now king, is my friend. And it's the first time this has ever happened where somebody was honored twice, so it's a great honor. And this one's at Windsor. They've never used Windsor Castle for this before. They used Buckingham Palace. And I don't want to say one's better than the other, but they say Windsor Castle is the ultimate, right? So it's going to be nice. But basically, up there also on trade, they want to see if they can refine the trade deal a little bit. We made a deal, and it's a great deal. And I'm into helping them. Our country is doing very well. We've never done this well. We're having trillions of dollars coming because of the tariffs. And they'd like to see if they could get a little bit better deal. So we'll talk to them. But primarily it's to be with Prince Charles and Camilla. They're friends of mine for a long time, long before he was king. And it's an honor to have him as king. And, you know, I think he represents the country so well. I've watched. He's such an elegant gentleman, and he represents the country so well.
After Robert Redford passed away today, did you hear about that?
Wow.
He was apparently in his sleep at his home.
Well, that's a good way to go, I guess. But I'll tell you, Robert Redford was great. He had a series of years that there was nobody better. This just happened, I guess. Huh? Wow.
He died at his home in Utah in his sleep.
Yeah.
And what movie would you say you liked the best in?
Well, you have a lot of them. Honestly, I'd say he made 7 or 8 great movies. They were really great. There was a period of time when he was the hottest. I thought he was great.
On TikTok, will TikTok go dark? Are you going to delay the TikTok ban?
Well, we have a deal on TikTok. I've reached a deal with China. I'm going to speak to President Xi on Friday to confirm everything up. We
That's
made
good.
a very good trade deal, and I hope good for both countries, but a very different deal than they've made in the past.
What companies are going to buy
We'll be announcing that. We have a group of very big companies that want to buy it. And, you know, the kids wanted it so badly. I had parents calling me up. They don't want it for themselves. They want it for their kids. They say, if I don't get it done, they're in big trouble with their kids.
And I will always say, I'm all for keeping TikTok around. Well, you know what? I'm all for keeping it around, but they do got to lift a lot of their censorship. It's absolutely ridiculous on TikTok. But I'm all for keeping it around because that took a lot of, economic opportunity away from our youth. Because like I said, a lot of people are making good money on TikTok. Good money.
And I think it's great. I hate to see value like that thrown out the window.
Let them eat, man. Let them eat.
So auto executives,
you know, you're talking about tens of billions of dollars.
Some auto executives are concerned that compromising the 15% for auto tariffs coming in hurts American automakers. What do you say to?
Well, I haven't compromised anything. Where did I compromise?
Going down to 15% from
going down to 15%. We charge well. And where did the 25 come from? It came from there.
I mean, these people don't even know where their tariff derangement syndrome come from. It's like, here's the thing. Oh, well, it's a tax on the consumer. Well, here's the thing. Us raising the corporate tax like you guys wanted could have been a tax on the consumer. Bro, taxes on unrealized gains could have been a tax on the consumer. I mean, really, anything that Trump proposed, you guys would have said it's a tax on the consumer, just a fearmonger on it. So shut the heck up. Shut up.
You tell me. Just so you know, they paid nothing for years. Now they're paying 15%. And some things can pay more, like chips could pay more. Pharmaceuticals could pay more. You know, there's a bigger margin. With a car, you have to make 15% before you make a profit. Pretty tough. So we had a big deal. Don't forget, European Union is paying our country because of tariffs $950 billion. Think of that. We're talking about a year. $950 billion. Japan is paying us $650 billion. These are countries that paid us nothing until I came along. And China's paying us a tremendous tariff. You know what the tariff is, right? You know what the tariff they're paying is? Yeah. What?
Yeah, so it's 30% for the fentanyl as well as whatever for the 301s.
20% for the fentanyl. But the overall is about 55%. Okay. That's as opposed to
55% on China's steel and aluminum and 30% base tariff on all the other products. But we already know how Trump is doing with his sector Pacific tariffs on, metal and chips and semiconductors.
Nothing.
Steel.
Would you say that's a difference? We have a big decision coming up, and if the Supreme Court rules the way hopefully they will, because I mean, every legal expert said we win that case, but you still have to watch. And the Supreme Court's been terrific. I think they're very fair. All I want is fairness, then we win. But if we win the Supreme Court case, which is the finalization of tariffs, we will be by far the richest country anywhere in the world, and we'll be able to help our people more, and we'll be able to help other countries when we want to. But I will say, if we win that case, our country, you see what we've taken in just on a temporary basis. We've taken in trillions of dollars, trillions with a T, and we will be by far the richest country in the world. There'll be nothing.
It's kind of crazy how other countries can put not taxes, but can put a tariff on our products and other products around the world, and they're not taxing their people to death. But as soon as America do it, here comes the propaganda saying that tariffs is a tax on the consumer, even though it's been proven that governments can eat tariffs, supplier can eat tariffs. Shoot, the company can just go ahead and eat the tariff and take it to the profit margin. Always do say the passing down of the cost of tariff to the price is industry specific. If you're in an oversaturated market, you don't really have any room to raise your price. So you're going to have to take it on the overhead cost or the profit margin. Or hopefully you could work things out with the supplier.
I think so. One other thing, we'll have tremendous power to negotiate. The use of tariffs. I settled 7 wars. 4 of them was because I was able to use tariffs. Hopefully we'll be able to interview
put aside the fact that some CEOs make hundreds of times more in salary than average workers. He's worried about polarization.
Yeah.
Do you share that concern?
Well, I do say there's a big gap. I do say that. Don't forget, I'm a popularist. There's a big gap.
Mr. President, it's been a month since you provided a detail. A month on, you think that meeting accomplished what you hoped?
Yeah, accomplished a lot, but it takes two to tango also. You know, those are two people, Zelensky and Putin, that hate each other. And it looks like I have to sit in the room with them because they can't sit in the room together. There's great hatred there. But no, that meeting accomplished a lot.
Mr. President, you still have complete confidence in Capel. What are you hoping comes from his testimony on the Hill today?
Well, first of all, I think that Pam Bondi has done an unbelievable job, and everybody agrees with that. And Cash, if you take a look at what he did with respect to this horrible person that he just captured. He did it in 2 days. It took other similar cases 4 days, 5 days, 4 years. If you look at certain shooters. Now, I have confidence in everybody in the administration. My administration, and a lot of people are saying it, not just me. It's so far the best administration ever formed. You look at our financial people. Our country is making a fortune. We have to keep tariffs because our country is become successful because of tariffs. We have the case in the Supreme Court. That's a very vital case for the success of our country. It's very vital to negotiate with other countries. And remember, other countries charge us tariffs. That's a very, very big case. And if we win that case, our country...
Yeah, and tariffs as well. These countries use tariffs to protect their domestic economy. Yes, they don't want no American-made products coming into their economy, not because our products are bad, it's because they don't want no competition. The only competition they want is the competition that they create in their own country. So if India is going to sell towels, and they can make it themselves, and they can have 5 different towel making companies in India, why the hell would they import some towels from America? Why would they do that to themselves? Like, what happened if our towels are better and more plush? We just destroy their market. You never know.
We'll be by far the richest country anywhere in the world. And then we can help our people. We'll get rid of debt. We'll get rid of everything. We can help our people. And we can even help other countries where they need it.
Mr. President, narcotics in Venezuela. President Maduro in Venezuela says that you're getting ready to invade his country. What is his message to him?
Well, I would say this right away. Stop sending Tren de Aragua into the United States. Stop sending drugs into the United States. We knocked off actually 3 boats, not 2, but you saw 2. And the problem is there are very few boats out in the water. There are not a lot of boats out in the water. I can't imagine why. Not even fishing boats. There's nobody. Nobody wants to go take a fish. So it's one of those things. But I would say to him very strongly, stop sending people from your prisons into our country. They're sending their prisoners. They've done that already. So the numbers just came out. Another month with 0 people getting into our country. And these are figured, John, with people like you that would like me to do badly. Nobody has ever done on the border like I've done.
Mr. President, what will you tell President Zelensky if you meet with him in New York?
Well, he's going to have to get going and make a deal. He's going to have to make a deal. Zelensky's going to have to make a deal. And Europe has to stop buying oil from Russia. Okay? You know, they talk, but they have to stop buying oil from Russia. Mr. President, there are some...
Yeah, you can't call Russia this great evil, but then they're y'all great savior when it comes to getting oil. I mean, like, come on, Europe, let's stay consistent in the rhetoric now.
Regarded to be the wealthiest man who's ever occupied the White House. How much wealthier are you now than when you returned to the White House?
Well, I don't know. The deals I made, for the most part, other than what my kids are doing, they're running my business. But most of the deals that I've made were made before. And that's what I've done for a life. I built buildings, like I'm building a building here. You know where I'm building? You know what? You see that area? Yeah. That is going to be the greatest ballroom anywhere in the world. And for 150, so it gives me pleasure to do it for the country. And I'm paying for it. I'm paying for it. The country's not, and that's an expensive ballroom. I think it'll cost $250 million, and it will be, I think, the finest ballroom. So for 150 years, John, you know this? They've wanted a ballroom.
and now they're going to finally have it. And it's going to knock your socks off.
That is inappropriate, President Trump, that a president in office should be engaged in so much business activity.
Well, I'm really not. My kids are running the business. I'm here. You know what the activity, where are you from?
I'm from the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, Four Corners Program.
Well, the Australians, you're hurting Australia, right? In my opinion, you are hurting Australia very much right now. And they want to get along with me. You know, your leader is coming over to see me very soon. I'm going to tell him about you. You set a very bad tone.
Well,
go ahead, John.
Maybe
you can set a nicer
tone. The UAE does a deal. What does it want in return?
Quiet.
Mr. President, what are you hearing about the operation in Gaza, the Israeli operation? Are you concerned?
Well, I'm hearing that they want to go in, and I'm also hearing that Hamas wants to take our 20 hostages plus dead bodies. You know, they have about 32 of them, and they want to put them in the way of any attack. And nobody's happy about that situation. It came out yesterday. I'm sure you saw that. They want to, supposedly they've taken the hostage out of deep caves and tunnels, and they're bringing them, putting them on the front line. That's, nobody's heard of that one for a few centuries.
You saw that the UN said that Israel is guilty of genocide, that they've committed acts of genocide in Gaza.
They voted on that?
They have a new report out saying multiple acts of genocide.
When it comes to a vote, we'll see what happens. That'll come to a vote, but we'll see what happens.
And what do you make Pam Bondi saying she's going to go after hate speech? Is that, I mean, a lot of your allies say hate speech is free speech.
You should probably go after people like you because you treat me so unfairly. It's hate. You have a lot of hate in your heart. Maybe they'll come after ABC. Well, ABC paid me $16 million recently for a form of hate speech, right? Your company paid me $16 million.
And I think she means the people who are celebrating Charlie Kirk's death or having pretty much ill will or wishing ill will on Charlie Kirk's family. And here's the thing. I mean, trust me, the people online are already doing God's work. They're already reporting these people into their employers and getting them fired. So Pembani don't need to even worry about that. You can just focus on the Epstein list.
A form of hate speech. So maybe they'll have to go after you. Look, we want everything to be fair. It hasn't been fair. And the radical left has done tremendous damage to the country. But we're fixing it. We have right now the hottest country anywhere in the world. And remember, 1 year ago, our country was dead. And now Washington, D.C. is fixed, and I fixed it. The mayor was fine. The mayor was just fine. Okay? The mayor had the sick city for many years. She's been mayor for many years. The one that fixed it was me and my people. And it is so safe. You should take your beautiful wife tonight and have dinner down there. You won't be shot. You won't be accosted. You won't even be looked at incorrectly by anybody. Washington, D.C. is safe. Now we're going to Memphis, where it's pretty rough, to put it mildly. And then we're going to have to go. A friend of mine who is a big railroader, he stops in all the cities. He knows every city. He said, sir, you have to save Chicago. So I'm going to go to Chicago early against Pritzker. Pritzker's nothing. If Pritzker was smart, he'd say, please come in. So last week, over the last week and a half, 11 people in Chicago were killed, murdered, and 38 were shot. And then Pritzker, and by the way, this is going on constantly. If they lose less than 6 or 7 people a week with murder, they're doing a great job in their opinion. Chicago is a death trap, and I'm going to make it just like I did with D.C., just like I'll do with Memphis. Now, remember this. So a man comes into my office, one of the biggest businessmen. I'll tell you, he runs Union Pacific. Is that big? Biggest railroad in the world, I guess. And he started off as a railroader. He was running a railroad, a little caboose. He was in a caboose. Now he runs the whole damn thing. 45 years ago, he started off in a caboose. I don't know what that's all about. And he became the top, so that's a good place to start. But he came in, he knows the country intimately.
All right, now, Lincoln, this is why I say it went over your head, my friend, because it went over your head completely. The argument was never, oh, does the importer pay tariffs at customs? Yes, the importer does pay tariffs at custom, but the importer doesn't really pay the full brunt of the tariffs if the supplier cuts their price. So, and let me give you a great example. Let's say the tariff is 10%, right? Now, you're expecting the importer to pay 10% more to get their product in, right? Okay, but like I said, when I say it depends on if the importer can get their supplier to drop it by 10%. So the importer still pays that 10%, but it's almost like he's paying the same exact thing because the supplier was paying the same exact price before the tariff because supplier dropped their price by 10%. This happens many times in high competition industries like clothing and agriculture. It's like, I'm not sure what's so hard to understand. That's why I said it depends on who. Another way a tariff can be eaten, why I say depends on who. Let's say that they bring it over and it's a 10% tariff again. They can go ahead and take that 10% instead of passing it down to the consumer. They can take it to the profit margin. And if it's only 10%, it's not that bad. Now, if we're talking like 50%, they can also work it out with the supplier that they cut their price by 20 and they go ahead and take on the 25%. So, of course, the importer is going to pay a tariff to bring it in, but they can still pay as if the tariff was never applied if the supplier takes the brunt of the tariff. And that is what I meant by it went over your head. Because for some reason, you could only see it working in one direction.
Merger by another railroad, the one that had the little problem in East Palestine, right? And they want to buy that railroad, as you know, it's pretty public. But I sat with them and I talked.
Did I explain that well? Hopefully that wasn't too confusing.
I said, so you know every city? Yes, sir. I go into every city and I have for 45 years. I said, where would you go next? He said, St. Louis is in big trouble. He said, but Chicago is a great city. You can save Chicago, sir. Don't let Chicago die. This is a guy telling me with great knowledge and stuff. He said, don't let Chicago die, sir. It's dying. Don't let it die. I'm going to Chicago next. The UAE, Mr. President.
I know. Economics is confusing.
Well, I just want something to happen, whether it's federal, state, most likely it's going to be state. The question is whether or not we overlap with a federal judge. So they're looking at that. But the state is very competent. The governor's doing a very good job. As you know, they have the death penalty. It's a tough death penalty too, as you know, but they have the death penalty. So as to whether or not we judge, we will be working with them. We may or may not be able to judge.
And when it comes to the governor of Utah, what do you make of his
They already
overall
did
message
charge.
of nonviolence?
Well, I agree with it. I agree 100%. But most of the violence is on the left.
He said that social media is a cancer.
What?
Do you agree with that? The Utah governor said that social media is a cancer and more people should log off and take some time away.
Well, it's not a cancer in all respects.
I mean-
in some respects it's great, but there are.
I would say this, it becomes a cancer when you're engaging these echo chambers and these chats, groups. I mean, shoot, back in the day, I mean, the most toxic thing you could be in was one of these Facebook groups where you just heard nothing but the same thing over and over again, like, or the same perpetuated, like, I guess the same perpetuated lie. So, yeah, nowadays you got your what? Shoot, I say you got your Twitter spaces. And nowadays you got your communities out here on Reddit and all that wild stuff. So yeah, there's a lot of places where you can go into a rabbit hole on the internet and you don't come out the same person, or you come out completely radicalized by what you've seen in these, well, rabbit holes or these echo chambers.
Segments, there are deep, dark holes that are cancerous, absolutely. Beyond cancer, they're death.
How are you going to get China over the market? Supreme Court this morning denied Fannie Willis's appeal of your case for moving this on the case. Do you have any response
Well, that
to
was a great decision. It was a rigged case to start off with. It's great. The court just ruled that she is a disaster. She's a disaster with a boyfriend. The boyfriend that she paid $1 million for his expertise, but he never did it before. Now, she should be prosecuted. What she did to people, forget about me, what Fannie Willis did to innocent people, patriots that love our country, what she did to them by indicting them and destroying them, she should be put in jail. She's a criminal. Fannie Willis is a criminal.
Will you apply more pressure to EU and NATO countries not to purchase Russian oil?
I do, but here's the problem.
What they
You know
do
the
it.
problem. They're purchasing Russian oil. I don't want them purchasing Russian oil, and they've got to stop immediately. It's not fair to us. They're purchasing Russian oil, and we have to, do things. Now, the nice part, it doesn't cost us anything anymore. You know that. Yeah. They are buying everything from us, unlike Biden, who gave away $350 billion. We actually make money, but I don't want to make money. You know what I want? I want that war to stop, because last week, 7,018 people got killed. Thank you.
Target was targeted today, just now. You announced 70 patriots in Ukraine 2 months ago.
Where are you from?
Ukraine.
Yes.
Will they come, and do you know when there will come? The patriots.
What will come?
The patriots. You announced 70 patriots to Ukraine 2 months ago.
Look, let me just tell you, I love Ukraine. I love the people of Ukraine. That's why I asked. I thought that was a little Ukrainian accent, but the country's in serious trouble. It should have never happened. It's a war that should have never happened. The country's in very serious trouble, but I'm going to get it stopped. I've done seven countries. I've stopped 7 wars in the last 8 months. I thought that would have been the easiest because I know Putin, but it's not, because there's tremendous hatred between Zelensky and Putin. But we're going to get it stopped.
How soon will you go to the Supreme Court to stop Lisa Club?
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley.
All right, guys, let's go ahead and get into, Candace Owens breaking more on this whole, the details of Charlie Kirk's assassin. The decoy, the partner, all that crazy stuff. But all right, guys, let's get right into it. And guys, remember to double tap that screen and like the video, guys. You got any questions, comments, jokes, or disagreements, just super chat it in. $2 are up. Appreciate the support, guys.
Let's start with some major updates regarding the Charlie Kirk case. First and foremost, what always stood out to us about this shooting was decoy boy, right? We're all on social media. We all watch the news. We have all, whether we wanted to or not, witnessed, thanks to social media and the news, a lot of shootings, whether it's gang related or otherwise. And I have to say, I don't know if I'm the only one, never in my entire life have I seen a situation when a shooting happens and then somebody completely unrelated to the shooting that just happened jumps up and down and says that they did it and gets arrested for saying that they did it, implying that they did it. Well, for whatever reason, George Zinn, who is a 71-year-old man, was moved to do that, right? Instantly. Charlie Kirk gets shot. Suddenly, the 71-year-old man jumps up and creates what is obviously some sort of a distraction. Okay, we have eyes. We can see that. That's not normal. He creates a distraction. So let's just take a look at this clip of him being arrested in the aftermath of the shooting.
That's right, the main sign.
The messed up thing, while this guy was getting arrested, the real guy who shot him, Tyler Robinson, was getting away, making a 4-hour trip back home. Crazy.
Well, now it's about to get even stranger because since he's been arrested, he's now facing charges of obstruction of justice because he didn't do it, right? Why would you do that? Why would you obstruct justice in this manner? And now, in addition to those charges, we learn that he's been harboring images of child abuse, okay? He has kiddie porn. This is the headline. I can't make this up. Man arrested for allegedly faking confession to Charlie Kirk's killing. George Zinn, accused of obstructing justice, was also booked in connection with images on his cell phone related to child abuse, okay? So we learn from this article that after being arrested, the 71-year-old man for this second-degree felony, which is obstruction of justice, he was also, when the police had approached him, he was being weird about giving them his cell phone. Okay, so they took him into custody. They treated him for a medical condition, and then they start asking this guy questions about, what are you doing? Can we see your cell phone? And he's being really cagey about giving over his cell phone. They're like, okay, we're trying to get to the bottom of why you would stand up and scream, shoot me, immediately following the aftermath of this murder. Okay. And what they discover is that when asked by an officer, okay, after they figure out that like he's not being cooperative, is that he has images. He has images of kiddie porn. There's no other way to say this, of related to child abuse on his cell phone. Now, what does that tell you about this guy? Okay, what does it tell you about George Zinn?
Possibly
What that signals
blackmailed
to me about George Zinn is that,
I mean, one, he's a sick bastard, and two, I mean, he could possibly been blackmailed into this, and or three, I don't know. He's just a guy who likes attention, who brought attention to himself at the wrong time. Now he's getting brought up for kiddie porn.
I've read a lot about Jeffrey Epstein. I've read a lot about blackmail operations. The people they tend to go after are people who are into children. Full stop. Now, I'm not saying, I obviously, he's just been charged here, so I guess we have to say allegedly, but that's what's coming out now, that they found images on his cell phone. So this guy who is into this sort of thing, we also figure out that in the past, he has given interviews related to September 11th and Al-Qaeda. He is in Utah and he is obstructing justice. And he also happens to have this totally disgusting addiction of some description. I'm assuming it's an addiction, and that's what he's harboring. He's harboring child abuse images on his phone. That's what I'm going to tell you. That's my instinct immediately. I don't like this guy. That is suspect, okay? Something to watch. Now, in terms of this indictment, now that we can formally read the indictment, there's been a lot that's been said that I think a lot of the miscommunication is perhaps coming from Governor Cox. I think he, in and of himself, I probably should look into Governor Cox. I'm not sure why he said some things that are apparently untrue. Maybe he misspoke. I understand there's a lot of pressure when it comes to this investigation. But let's just take us through this indictment. I think it's important for us to go through it so that we can see the setup here of what took place on September 10th. Now, first, they provide basically an overview in this indictment. It's a probable cause statement. They tell us that basically after 33 hours, they really love saying it, 33 hours. I don't know why they keep signaling that to us. On September 11, 2025, when Tyler James Robinson surrendered to police at Washington County Sheriff's Office. That was when it happened. They found DNA consistent with Robinson on the rifle trigger. After shooting Mr. Kirk, Robinson hid the gun. They're going to get into that. Discarded the clothing that he was wearing when he fired the rifle, and he told his lover/roommate to delete incriminating text messages and not to speak with police. And also, they will be charging him count 6 because children were present at the time of the shooting. Okay, now to get through this, we are told that the suspect, after this shooting took place, that there was a police officer who immediately looked upward and realized that he had heard the sign of a rifle, knew that it was obviously coming from the rooftops. They then began crawling through the footage to see what had happened. They tell us that this discovery led to an intensive review. Let me go actually back up to this paragraph. Police reviewed surveillance from the camera that was covering the roof and discovered that it recorded an individual that was dressed in dark clothing who had crossed the railing from the public walkway and dropped onto the roof at approximately 12:15 p.m. Now, just to very quickly, I'm going to just tell you, according to our timeline, we know that Charlie gets shot at 12:23 p.m. So they're now telling us that he was on that roof since 12:15 p.m. So he's setting up that shot, we can assume, for about 8 minutes, okay? It goes on, although the individual moved out of the camera's view for a short time, the camera again captured the individual running across the roof and then low crawling to the area that the officer had recognized as where the suspected sniper had dropped into a prone shooting position. After a short time, which matches the known time of the shot, the individual arose and then ran across the roof to the northeast. So nothing in here implies that he had, taken apart the shotgun. That just seems to be now removed from the narrative altogether. It goes on to read that this discovery led to an intensive review of UVU surveillance recordings to attempt to track and identify the suspect. Surveillance revealed the following: that at approximately 11:51 a.m., the suspect had entered campus from the north. He is wearing a black shirt with an American flag in its center, a dark baseball cap, large.
Shout out to my man D Wilson. He says, "How do I submit a video?" Shoot, you can either try to send it here in the chat, or you can go ahead and email me, and I'll go ahead and get it, and I'll be on the lookout. Or like I said, you can just post it here in the chat, and I'll be on the lookout.
Sunglasses. Throughout the surveillance, the suspect keeps his head down and rarely raises his head enough to get a clear image of his face. As he proceeds across the campus, he is seen walking with an unusual gait. The suspect walks with very little bending in his right leg, consistent with a rifle being hidden in his pants. This unusual gait continues until the suspect is seen crossing the railing off the open walkway and onto the roof, where he leaves the camera's view. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to say is they've only sent us screenshots, right? We've only seen a picture of him coming up the staircase. It looked to me like both his legs were bending. I don't see why they don't just release. Why don't they just release this fully so we can make sure that this is the same person that we see walking across with a limp, right? That footage which was provided by TMZ. Also, you will notice that nowhere in this indictment as we go on are they going to mention which Governor Cox spoke about. Like, first, he came in a different outfit. Remember, Governor Cox said he was wearing the light shorts and maroon shirt. The implication here being that maybe he came to come scout things, to check things out. At first, this is him, but then he comes back in the black outfit. This is missing from the indictment, and I'm wondering why. What is the explanation for that? That would be a part of it if you were scouting the shooting. Now they're just like, let's jump into the guy that is wearing black, and we're not going to give you footage. We're going to tell you that this is him, and you can assume that he slowly walked up this staircase and was obscuring his face from view. Okay. Then it tells us that a camera later captures the suspect as he runs across the roof. He gets into the shooting position, and then immediately after the shot was fired, we know that he runs across carrying an item whose shape is consistent with a rifle. The suspect is then seen climbing down the roof. He appears to drop the item that he was carrying as he hits the ground in a controlled fall. He then picks up the item and runs toward the northeast end of the campus. It tells us that's how they then expand their crime scene investigation. They followed his escape path to the northeast end of the campus, where they believe the suspect left campus and entered a wooded area. In that wooded area, investigators found a bolt-action rifle wrapped in a towel. So again, there was no disassembly. It's wrapped in a towel. Presumably, that's how he covered it while he was running. The rifle contained 1 spent round and 3 unspent rounds. This is consistent with the facts officers observed at the time of and immediately after the shooting. There were no shell casings that were found on the roof, suggesting a bolt action rather than an auto-loading weapon, and only a single round was fired, okay? Then they tell us what was actually inscribed. And these are essentially memes. "Hey, fascist, catch," says one on one cartridge. You got "Notices bulge." What's this on another cartridge? "Oh, Bella, chow, Bella, chow, Bella, chow, chow, chow," on a third cartridge. And on the fourth cartridge, it reads, "If you read this, you are gay, LMAO." Okay, they detailed that. The rifle, the ammunition rounds, and the towel were then sent for forensic processing, and that the DNA was consistent with Robinson that was found on the trigger and other parts of the rifle, the fired cartridge casing, and 2 of the 3 unfired cartridges and the towel. Okay, they were able to immediately locate the shooter. They were unable, to immediately locate the shooter. So that's when they published the photos of the shooter from their surveillance, and they asked for the public's help. Now we're going to get a little bit more of a narrative change, right? They tell us that as they continued their investigation on September 11th, Tyler James Robinson then walked in to the Washington County Sheriff's Office, and he is accompanied by his parents and a family friend to turn himself in. Okay. Now, again, he didn't confess yet, but he's here to turn himself in. Robinson's mother stated the following to police, that on September 11th, the day after the shooting, she saw the photo of the shooter in the news and thought that the shooter looked like her son. She then called her son and asked him where he was. He said he was at home sick, and that he had also been homesick on yesterday, September 10th, when the shooting occurred. Robinson's mother expressed concern to her husband that the suspected shooter looked like Robinson. So she's calling her husband and she's going, "Hey, this kind of looks like our son." And then his father agrees that looks like their son. So Robinson's mother explained to the officers that over the last year or so, Robinson had become increasingly more political. He had started to lean more left. He was becoming more pro-gay and more trans-right oriented. That Robinson began to date his roommate, which is a biological male who was transitioning genders. We're going to get to him in a second. This resulted in several discussions with family members, but especially between Robinson and his father, who have very different political views. In one conversation before the shooting, Robinson mentioned that Charlie Kirk would be holding this event at UVU, which Robinson said was a stupid venue for the event. Robinson accused Kirk of spreading hate. Robinson's father reported that when his wife showed him that surveillance image of a suspected shooter in the news, he agreed that it looked like their son. He also believes that the rifle that the police had suspected the shooter had used matched a rifle that was given to his son as a gift. And as a result, he then contacts his son and asks him to send a photo of the rifle that was gifted to him. Robinson did not respond to that. However, Robinson's father spoke on the phone with Tyler at that moment, and Tyler implied that he planned to take his own life. Now, his parents were then able to convince him to meet at their home, not to do that. And as they discussed the situation, Robinson implied is the word they use here, that he was the shooter, and stated that he could not go to jail and that he just wanted to end things. When asked why he did it, Robinson explained that there was too much evil and that this guy, Charlie Kirk, spreads too much hate. They talked about Robinson turning himself in, and they convinced Robinson to speak with a family friend who happens to be a retired deputy sheriff. And at Robinson's father's request, the family friend met with Robinson and his parents, and they convinced Robinson to turn himself in, okay? Again, he did not confess, but he turned himself in. And they then detail that they tell him, hey, look, also bring in any clothes that you used because you don't want the police to then have to search the property of your parents. So anything that you use, you need to bring over. Okay. That doesn't exactly make sense because Robinson is living with his trans boyfriend, but that is.
And shout out to my man Zoloff. He says, all this fuss over less than 1% of our nation. Easy fix. I mean, well, if we're talking about the trans Tifa, then I mean, you got a point. You got a point, Zoloff. Hey, yo, D. Wilson, shoot, you can go ahead and put the video suggestion in the chat, or like I say, you can just email it to me. Appreciate the support.
Apparently, Robinson replies that at that moment that he had disposed of clothes in different area. So they're looking into that. Okay. Now we're getting to the roommate portion, which is very interesting to me. And I will tell you why. It's interesting to me because I obviously have had a lot of tips. I've had a lot of conversations with people that knew both of these individuals. When I say both, I'm referring to Tyler Robinson, who is being indicted, but also his boyfriend, who has not been indicted. And the conversation that I am having is that Tyler's classmates and the neighborhood are very shocked that Tyler would be, first and foremost, involved in this at all. So right away, they told me, no way, this guy is wearing the same outfit from 33 hours ago because he was very tidy. He sort of kept to himself, but he worked with his hands and he was kind of a good person. There were no signs here. Like this appears to them to be like, this is a very good family and that there were certain narratives out there that didn't make sense to them. Like they could not compute them as it pertained to Tyler Robinson. Okay. And they're saying there's no way if like, they're not saying he couldn't have been involved. I very, very much want to be clear. I believe that Tyler Robinson was involved on the basis of this evidence, but rather that there's no way he could have acted alone, that this had to be a part of some wider plot. Okay. And when I'm speaking to people that are close to this situation, what they are shocked about is the fact that only Tyler could have been arrested because it's a different perspective when it comes to Tyler's trans boyfriend, okay? Yeah. Tyler's trans boyfriend's name is Lance Twiggs, and they are very shocked. In fact, the people that...
I'm sorry, but just like...
Brother, what's that? What's that, brother?
Boyfriend's name is Lance Twiggs. And they are very shocked. In fact, the people that are intimately involved in the situation are saying, we thought he was definitely going to get charged because apparently, and again, I'm going to say this allegedly, he had been arrested or taken in on the same day. Now, the media narrative is that that guy was being really cooperative. He had nothing to do with anything. Okay, we're going to go through that. And again, I'm going to tell you what his family is saying. I'm referring now to Lance Twiggs. Let's get to what the indictment tells us about him. Police interviewed Robinson's roommate, a biological male who was involved in a romantic relationship with Robinson. The roommate told police that he had received messages from Tyler Robinson about the shooting, and he provided those messages to police. And then it goes on, describing those messages. On September 10th, 2025, oh wait, they're not telling us the time. I don't like that. I hope that's just you forgot, but I need to know exactly when you're saying these messages were sent, okay? Because I need to fit them into my timeline, okay? Clearly, on the basis of what I'm about to read, these messages had to have gone out after Charlie Kirk was shot. If I'm using my context clues, my Blues clues to put things together, but they're not clear here. They just say on September 10th, 2025, no time given. The roommate received a text message from Robinson, which said, quote, "Drop what you are doing and look under my keyboard." The roommate
reply, "I meant mental competency test on the 1%. I mean, yeah, there you go. See, there you go. You know, people out here thought you was wishing violence on trans people. I'm like, nah, not Zoloff. He ain't like that. Like, come on now. Don't do my mans like that. You never know. Oh, boy. But, hey, come on now. Don't jump to conclusions, guys.
Lance then looks under his keyboard and he finds a note that states, quote, "I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk and I'm going to take it." The structure of that is weird. I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk and I'm going to take it. Okay. That's just structurally, that's not proper English. Okay. It's either I have, okay, or I had, past tense. Again, not clear. Police found a photograph of this note and the following text exchange then took place. After reading that note, the roommate texts Tyler and he says, "What? You're joking, right?" Robinson writes, "I'm still okay, my love, but I am stuck in a REM for a little while longer yet. Shouldn't be long until I can come home, but I gotta grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I am sorry to involve you." The roommate replies, "You weren't the one who did it, right?" Robinson replies, "I am. I'm sorry." The roommate replies, "I thought they caught the person." Robinson replies, "No, they grabbed some crazy old dude that interrogated someone in similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle from my drop point shortly after, but most of that side of town got locked down. It's quiet, almost enough to get out, but there's one vehicle still lingering." The roommate says, "Why?" Robinson says, "Why did I do it?" The roommate says, "Yeah." Robinson says, "I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no..."
Can't be negotiated, but he was out there, well, debating and pretty much negotiating it. Like, hey, if you could prove him wrong, maybe you could have changed Charlie Kirk's mind. But I mean, hey, and the left pretty much, well, I ain't gonna say the left, but apparently that guy, he don't really believe in, you know, a healthy debate. Like Monty said, he could have put that gun down, went down there and actually talked to Charlie instead of taking that shot. And he might have walked back with a different perspective.
No evidence. Going to attempt to retrieve it again. Hopefully they have moved on. I haven't seen anything about them finding it. The roommate says, "How long have you been planning this?" Robinson says, "A bit over a week, I believe. I can get close to it," referring to the rifle, "but there's a squad car parked right by it. I think they already swept that spot, but I don't want to chance it." Robinson says, "I'm wishing I had circled back and grabbed it as soon as I got to my vehicle. I'm worried what my old man would do if I didn't bring back Grandpa's rifle. I don't know if it had a serial number, but it wouldn't trace to me. I worry about prints. I had to leave it in a bush where I changed outfits. Didn't have the ability or time to bring it with. I might have to abandon it and hopefully they don't find prints. How the F will I explain losing it to my old man? Only thing I left was the rifle wrapped in a towel." What? You're worried about explaining losing the rifle to your father, not worried that you left the rifle and therefore it's obviously going to be found out.
Yep.
Like the only thing that you left was the the murder weapon.
Well, once the father kind of, found out about the shooting, he did ask his son, like, yo, send me a picture of that rifle right now. Like, just let me know you got it in your possession. And well, obviously he didn't send his father anything back.
This is weird. This chain is weird to me. It's weird to me that we don't know what time. I don't know what he means. Where is he stuck here, guys? Do you have a clue here? I'm stuck in a REM for a little while longer. It shouldn't be long until I can come home. Is it a typo? I should have asked you guys. Okay, that's the town. Okay, that's the town. I'm stuck here for a little while longer. It shouldn't be long until I can come home, but I got to grab my rifle still. So is this happening during lockdown? He tells him to check under and to see, check under quickly and see, and I took care of it, and he's where? And now he's giving him an accounting of exactly what's taken place, which means if this is right after and they're still in lockdown, he's monitoring the situation? Because this is going to give us a timeline, whether they tell us when these messages happened or not. The fact that he already knows that they grabbed some crazy old dude and that they also interrogated someone in similar clothing, we're going to be able to go back and plot exactly when that happened, or at least when the public was informed. Because this whole correspondence is very strange to me. It's very strange to me. He then is even more explicit, talk about trying to cover your tracks, but then explicitly texting everything to your lover. He says, the only thing I left was the rifle wrapped in a towel. Remember how I was engraving bullets? The effing messages are mostly a meme. If I see notices bulge on Fox News, I might have a stroke. All right, I'm going to have to leave it. That really effing sucks.
Wow.
Okay, so if this is our guy, we're not done. Let's finish. That really sucks. He's got to leave it. And then he says, judging from today, I'd say Grandpa's gun does just fine. I think that was a $2,000 scope. And then he does a winky face. And then he tells him, delete this exchange. And then Robinson says, my dad wants photos of the rifle.
Yeah, there
he
you go.
says, Grandpa wants to know who has what. The feds released a photo of the rifle, and it is very unique. He's calling me right now, not answering. So his dad's calling him. Okay, well, the dad, this is interesting. When is this text chain taking place? Okay, because we just heard that, the dad, they figured it out the next day. They're making it sound like this all happened back to back. Is this happening over 2 days? Why not tell us this instantly so I can work it into my timeline? Okay, are these messages day one? And then what? They had no correspondence at all until he jumps right back in and says, my dad's calling me. Where were you when your dad called you? You guys live together. Why are you texting at all? Why didn't this kid immediately call? If they're in lockdown and he needs to go back and get his rifle, right? This kid could have, and I'm speaking about Lance, could have contacted immediately and said, I'm getting a confession right now. I don't like that we are not being told the exact timestamp of these messages because, my timeline demands it. To close loop on how this enters,
I don't think they're that bad.
Happened, Robinson says, my dad wants photos of the rifle. He says, Grandpa wants to know who has what. The feds released a photo, and it's very unique. He's calling me right now, not answering. Robinson says, well, since Trump got into office, my dad has been pretty diehard MAGA. Robinson says, I'm going to turn myself in willingly. One of my neighbors is here. He is a deputy for the sheriff. Robinson says, you are all I worry about, love. I'm much more worried. The roommate says, Lance says, I'm much more worried about you. Robinson says, don't talk to the media, please. Don't take any interviews or make any comments. If any police ask you questions, ask for a lawyer and stay silent.
You think he ain't going to take interviews?
How you guys feeling about that?
I think it's very unlikely that he's not going to take interviews. He's going to take some interviews. I don't know why. Those people, they love attention. I mean, that's the whole reason why they do the whole trans BS, because they love attention. Well, most of them.
Yeah. Mark is going to jump on and say something. Go ahead, Mark. Yeah, he's the guy that's always in my ear.
Not always. I just noticed that around some of these exchanges, there's ellipses above them.
You're breaking up a little bit. What'd you say?
Around some of these exchanges, there's ellipses above, if you look really closely.
Yeah.
And it looks like they're cherry picking certain exchanges. So that my dad is super MAGA just comes out of nowhere because they picked it from a totally different part of the conversation.
Yeah, these messages are clearly doctored, is what I would say. They're doctored. Now, they could decide why they're doing that. Tyler's being forthcoming. We're protecting him in some capacity. I find that to be unacceptable. Okay? Unacceptable. I want every single text message. I want timestamps. It is conspicuous that you are not telling us when this was sent, because it sounds like it's when the campus is on lockdown and he's got to go back and he's got to clean up. And then all of a sudden we're in the next day when his dad is getting clued in after the picture's been released. They're not telling us that. Okay. And you have a right to be a little bit uncomfortable about that, because I'm a lot of bit uncomfortable about that. We need full answers. Further to that point, I have found this strange from the beginning that for whatever reason, we're not hearing too much about this Lance guy other than like he's been extremely cooperative. He's handed over his messages. I'm not implying that Lance was involved. I am implying that it's weird that we're not hearing more about him, right? You're telling me he lived with the guy. You're telling me us now that he's been texting with the guy about his plans. They're in love. Is nobody interested in learning more about this character? Okay, so Tyler's people are saying Tyler's a good kid. People around Tyler, classmates, are telling me he's a good kid. So
yeah, let's be real. We should want more questions about this guy Lance, because, well, one, Tyler was raised in a conservative household. And I'm pretty sure Lance has something to do with his radicalization. Of course, his own fault as well. Probably went down the wrong internet rabbit holes, but then met up with Lance, and now he got this wannabe transgender boyfriend. So, yeah, we'd have to also talk to Lance too. And according to Lance family members and close relatives, he had a deep hatred for, Christians and conservatives. I mean, don't they all? Don't they all? Well, I would like to think not all of them, but it does seem like most of them do.
Go into our tips box, and it turns out that actually Lance Twiggs' family has tried to reach out to me over the weekend. Obviously, I was in a very aggrieved state, and I was not prepared to even accept that Charlie Kirk was not on this earth, okay? And I realized that they're saying to me, like, we want to speak with you, and there's more than one family member that has reached out because we trust you, and we don't trust the media. Good by me. They are, it sounds to me, a very good family. They're absolutely horrified by what has happened, and they are similarly perplexed by there not being more out there about the person he was living with, especially because what they told me, and I can tell you this exclusively, is that the house that Tyler Robinson was living in with Lance is owned by them. Tyler Robinson is paying rent to them. Okay, so they know Lance, obviously, and I'm going to cushion this with allegedly. It isn't allegedly that this is his family members telling me these details, but it is definitely, allegedly what they say, and so we can hear both sides. Okay, I'm going to pull this up because I took notes regarding Lance because I want to know everything. Okay. Lance, they told us, went to live with his relatives, so no longer in the house with his mother and father. Again, allegedly. His parents kicked him out junior year of high school because he was problematic. He just had issues. And at that time when they kicked him out, that wasn't exactly what they are saying legal for them to have.
And we're talking about Lance Twiggs, the boyfriend, the wannabe transgender boyfriend of the shooter Charlie Kirk, Tyler Robinson.
Done that, but again, he went to live with relatives, and he has issues. They say that he allegedly has a lot of issues with drinking. That Christmas, approximately 3 years ago, he almost overdosed. He drank a bottle of vodka. They are telling me that they were there. They were present for this. And fear began to spread about whether or not even the family would be able to take care of him because of issues that he was having. Okay, he graduates high school, and then essentially the extended family says, we can't keep you in our home because of his behavior. Just this past Easter Sunday, they are telling me that he showed up on drugs and he was spouting out of his mouth about political stuff. And at this point, they felt that he could not be around children, that they felt that he had become increasingly more radical, increasingly more dangerous, and just sort of off the rails. They said that they're unhappy that the media is presenting him in this like manner, like he's just this kind of like soft guy, or like, a person that was just transitioning. There's like nothing problematic. There's no prodding. They don't buy the story. Okay. Lance's family is telling me that they are not buying the current story and that they feel that more people are involved. First and foremost, they say that a lot of information should be able to be discerned by his devices because he was, according to them, deep web. Okay. This is the person that is deep on the internet. They said that he was quite reclusive, that he was always on his devices, that he's always on the web.
All them rabbit holes and all those groups he ain't had no business being in.
And that there should be more information that comes from there. Okay. He turned 22, they told me, back in August, and that he was, as I said, very into this dark web stuff. I asked what he was doing for work. Like, how are they even able to pay you guys rent? And they told me that he was doing some plumbing work with somebody else in the family. They told us that Tyler and him had been living together for at least a year, that they had not met Tyler, despite the fact that Lance had wanted to foster that meeting, that the two of them, this couple, Tyler and Lance, were living in that townhome that is owned by Lance's family, and that Tyler was paying rent to Lance. And Lance then, of course, was forwarding that payment to them. Now, I had asked them about another persistent rumor that is arriving in my inbox, which people are saying who live in the neighborhood, that they noticed some unusual traffic. And this individual family member said to me, yup, we are hearing the exact same thing, that they would prod that narrative further. But there were some
all that traffic. Let's see, transgender. Well, I'm gonna leave transgender part. Let's add in the furry element. Yeah, I think the furry element probably makes up for all the late night traffic. I know, right?
Some unusual traffic, a lot of cars that were seen out.
Well, I hope these people ain't riding around broad day in this animal get up BS. I hope that's not what they're doing. You really hope.
Side leading up to the shooting, in the days before the shooting or the week before this shooting. I'll straighten out that timeline for you and get real specific, because I will pin down when exactly this was happening. But leading up to the shooting, that there were unusual traffic in the driveway where Tyler Robinson and Lance lived. Cars that were not recognized in the neighborhood. This was not a couple that hosted people. It wasn't like they were expecting them to have parties. And so other people are saying that is something that struck them as odd. There was unusual traffic at this house in the weeks leading up to this shooting. And again, I will perfect that timeline of exactly when. And I have gone out to people for evidence of that. But there were apparently lots of different license plates, and it therefore caused a little neighborhood kerfluffle, because other people were not able to park their cars because there were so many people that were at this house. Unusual traffic. Again, we are prodding that narrative. We are taking a look at everybody, because if I don't feel good about what we're hearing, okay, and Lance Twig's family doesn't feel good about what we're hearing, and we've got Decoy Boy, who's apparently involved in some deep internet stuff, I would say it's a fair way to describe it. Decoy Boy, okay, George Zinn. There's more people involved.
I mean, dude walking around with, child abuse videos on his phone. This is the old guy who was pretty much being used as a decoy, or who made himself a decoy out of nowhere. While Tyler Robinson got away clean and made a 4-hour drive all the way back home.
That's what I'm going to say to you guys. There is very clearly more people involved. Okay. This feels to me like a conspiracy. And am I emotionally invested in this? Yes. Somebody said something.
Obviously.
You're unstable. Yeah, you know what? You're right. I have been destabilized by watching Charlie Kirk catch a bullet in his neck. and then being gaslit and told nothing to see here. We've got people all around him that are telling little lies. I don't like this. Okay. This doesn't feel clean to me. I need timestamps. If you're going to be transparent, be transparent. I'm not saying that you're being dishonest, that you have these text messages. I am saying that I need them in my timeline. Okay. And it is just weird that you're giving exact times about certain things. And then suddenly you're like, you know what? We don't need to be so exact anymore. And we can just extrapolate what we need to tell the public a certain narrative. Okay. We, the public, don't need a narrative. We need every single plausible detail. If we are ever going to regain any trust in the authorities, post-Epstein world. Okay. We're living in a post-Epstein world. It doesn't fly with us. That's not it, you guys. I have more to tell you. I am going to, I guess, at first, let's get through some ads, and we're going to get into Bill Ackman's, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just wandering excuse or wandering answer to our episode yesterday, which really didn't say anything. And I've got more people reaching out. Promo code Candace. Okay, so I want to be very clear here. No one, and I mean absolutely no one, outside of my husband and Erica Kirk has the power to shut me up right now. That's it. 2 people. If you got to make an appeal, you got to go to them. Okay. That's what I just said is meant to be a dig to the donors that are making frantic calls, trying to politic this situation under control because they know I'm telling the truth. Okay. Frantic calls from Seth Dillon. Oh my God. The truth is that Charlie was under immense pressure and he was facing financial threats over his shifting stance on Israel, over who he was hosting, from his podcast to.
And let's be honest, people did notice Charlie Kirk to be one of the biggest defenders of Israel, and the naysayers will call him one of the biggest shills for Israel. Either way, that man defended Israel.
People that were on stage at America Fest.
I guess he was coming to the light on some facts.
Dave Smith, Tucker Carlson. That is reality, my friend.
Which, like I said, over here, man, we don't hate Israel. We just hate the Netanyahu regime that's, controlling Israel right as of now. The Likud party. Like, get those guys out of power and put some more sensible people in there.
Again, want those people to know your money means nothing to me. I already said no to it. That's why I don't care to be in those circles. Make me persona non grata. I know what I did wrong. I looked you in your face and I said no to your money. Okay. Don't push me or I will name more names.
Okay.
What happens in the Hamptons is not going to stay in the Hamptons. Okay. Bring in our movie poster. I know what you did this summer. Okay. Got to add Josh Hammer's face to that poster as well, because suddenly everybody's talking. So let's buckle up for some more indisputable facts. Okay. People that were at this weekend soiree, in which Aaron Wexler sent out some of the invitations to, they're confirming that Charlie was pressed. Now, this was a multi-day weekend, but they're all like, at every layer, Charlie was facing pressure, questions from Seth Dillon. There's no way around that truth that they were not happy with his position, his modified position. I have it on first-person account that on the first day of the retreat, of which there were smaller meetings that took place, and then the retreat itself, Charlie presented and he explained that he felt that it was wrong that he couldn't publicly criticize Israel. He apparently used an example that if he tweeted, and again, we're riffing here, but something along the lines of Charlie said, if I tweeted, I think that Bibi Netanyahu should resign, that he would then be unfairly attacked. And Seth Dillon then allegedly pipes up and goes back and forth with him quite aggressively, saying because that would be anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
I heard that after Charlie left, Josh Hammer was upset.
I mean, hey, man, you and me both. It does seem like anytime you try to throw any harsh criticism towards Israel or really the Israeli government, you kind of got hit with the anti-Semitic label. And I couldn't understand for the life of me. I thought I was just, accurately calling out what I was seeing. But apparently what I was seeing was anti-Semitism, I guess. Yes, I was seeing anti-Semitism, and that's what I was preaching, apparently, right? Right.
Josh Hammer, I know for a fact, was a part of the beehive that was swarming him about people that he was having at his conferences. I know for a fact. So if you'd like to dispute that, Josh Hammer, and release your text messages and pretend that you were just chill and supportive and thumbs up, cool. I welcome you on this platform, okay? You are allowed to literally sit next to me and say, that isn't reality, and here's how it all went down. When I was the greatest supporter and I never cared about who he had, even though I got destroyed in debate by Dave Smith on his stage, I was cool with that. I love free speech. It's amazing. Okay? I am offering you my platform to do that. And I'm not here. I'm not in the business of smearing, okay? I need answers. And I don't like the fact that people are telling small lies and they're misrepresenting things, okay? Now, as I have said multiple times, what I am uncovering here is a response to what I feel was a severe misrepresentation by Bibi and his echo here in America, of which I would say Josh Hammer and Seth Dillon are part of that echo, okay? I am in no way attacking that narrative and associating it with the events that took place on Utah's campus, but I don't like little lies. So let's attack this lead up. Okay, let's attack this lead up because there's no reason for Bibi to have lied, as I've said many times. We talked about Bill Ackman a lot yesterday. I talked about Bibi Netanyahu, the phone call, the do you want to come to Israel kind of trip kind of thing that to me, as I've experienced, has been a lace threat when I was going off the reservation of Israel by asking perfectly sensible questions. I kind of got these invites from people like, once you speak to this person, you'll see things. Anyways, Bill Ackman responds to yesterday's episode, okay? And I have it. Hold on. I printed this out. Let me find it. Okay, here it is. It's actually right here in front of me. There are two ways to describe his response. I would describe it either as a CVS receipt. You buy one item. Next thing you know, you're holding 27 pages. You don't know why. I don't understand. I bought one chapstick and here we are. You can also describe it as like an online recipe, something looks good. Lucille online recipe. Oh, I want to make that. You want to know how to make latkes. But first, homemade chef Ackman has to tell you about how this recipe reminds him of his bubby's house and that Hanukkah they spent in Israel and all the kids love it. And you're like, bro, just how many cups of shredded potato? Please, just give us the ingredients. This is his tweet. I printed his tweet out on 2 pages. Okay. I don't know. You got to bring back the word count. This Twitter was not meant for this. Okay. And because I will not be teaching a seminar or this semester on Ackman's 955 word response, I'll just provide you here with the highlights. Okay.
Okay.
So he sets it up that he's a victim of something that never happened. Everybody watched my episode yesterday. Okay. I never said the sentence, Bill Ackman blackmailed Charlie Kirk. That never happened. But of course, he's doing the typical, the Israeli brand thing is I'm a victim. And let me tell you why I'm a victim. So he just sets it up. I don't know why he's putting these things in parentheses of Charlie's supposed evolving stance. Okay, we can watch clips of that in a little bit. It's not supposed. And saying it's supposed doesn't make it so. But he then says, Candace also intimated that I, quote unquote, blackmailed Charlie. No full sentence there because I never said it. I never said Bill Ackman blackmailed Charlie. There was a file presented, do this or else, okay? And I wouldn't have said that, okay? The first 5 paragraphs of this never-ending tweet are regarding how he met Charlie, which is not something that was ever in contention, okay? I followed Charlie Kirk on X. I admired him. I connected him. DMs, May of this year, expressed interest. We got on Zoom. We talked to this on Zoom. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, you can delete it. Nobody cares. Not a single person cares. He then takes us through how the weekend event came together, and he even provides us with a detailed itinerary of that event. I mean, I don't know if you needed to hear the itinerary. He gets so.
Oh no, that could have been a possible emotional response. Him just reflecting on Charlie Kirk's life. It doesn't have to be framed as like a cover story.
Oh, detailed.
Could be though. Could be.
That he even has this sentence here where he wants us to know that it was even, quote unquote, punctuated by meals. Oh, okay. That's good to know that the event, those who attended it, the sessions were punctuated by meals. I don't care, Bill. I literally don't care at all what you ate. I understand there was an itinerary. I just don't care. Conspicuously missing. Okay. Then it kind of wraps it up. And he's like, in short, this was not an intervention to blackmail Charlie into adopting certain views on Israel. It was nothing of the sort. Okay, buddy, I never said you blackmailed Charlie. I asked you if this moment happened. I asked you about Bibi Netanyahu. I asked you about whether or not there was pressure that was put on Charlie, which the attendees themselves are telling me that this happened. Okay, so what's going on here? Also, it's rather conspicuous given yesterday's episode. And of course, he had a big timing here. Like, I shouldn't even respond to her. She's so widow. Widow. I just love billionaires, right? They're just so full of themselves. Their arrogance matches their bank accounts. Like, oh, we should all be like, oh, he's got billions. Let's just take it. Let's just, oh my, well, he couldn't do anything wrong. Yeah, you need to answer basic questions, and we gave you an opportunity to do that. Conspicuously missing is you not addressing whether or not Charlie was offered more money and funding from Bibi Netanyahu. Could you help us out? Whether or not Bibi Netanyahu invited him to Israel as a last-ditch effort to reaffirm his support for Israel, or if, as I asserted, and as I maintain, Charlie was being pressured throughout this event about his viewpoints on Israel, and to him, he reflected that this felt like an intervention. Okay? Can you answer those basic questions? That would be great. Like I said, it's interesting. I didn't even mention Bibi Netanyahu at all. You can stand up to him. And does anybody want to jump in and say, no, yeah, the letter Charlie wrote him in May was just like a glowing, he just was overcome with passion and said, I love Israel. You guys are amazing. You're beautiful. We're going to win this thing and you're perfect and doing nothing wrong. Love you, Bibi. I just find that weird that no one wants to address the substance of the claims here, whether or not maybe Bill himself has an opinion on whether Bibi lied by severe omission when he mentioned his last correspondences with Charlie. Because I feel like if Charlie said, I don't want to go to Israel, maybe don't bring up, I just invited him. I guess if it was friendly and everything was great and he was just going to come out, and sadly, he won't be able to make it out here. And regarding just the public here, if you're trying to decide what's real and what's fake, whether or not what we're telling you is real or fake, you can take Charlie in his own words. I mean, shout out to Village Crazy Lady on X. She's a great follow. She just reads Bill Ackman's diatribe and says, okay, she goes through the itinerary. Bill Ackman just confirmed that he hosted his meeting with Charlie on August 4th and 5th. Here's Charlie talking to Megyn Kelly the very next day on August 6th. Now, how do you think that meeting went down? Oh, yeah, forgot to tell you that. That's the next day, okay? That is the next day that Charlie sits down and vents his frustration about how he is being treated. Take Charlie in his own words. And by the way, yesterday, we only showed one portion of what Charlie said to Megyn on that show. Go watch the full thing. Remember, he's with Bill. He's with Seth. He's in the Hamptons. Bill just confirmed that gratefully. And then suddenly he's overcome with a need to vent about the pressure that both he and Megyn are facing as people that have traditionally always supported Israel. Let's take Charlie in his own words. Take a listen.
My contention here is that some in the pro-Israel camp are so knee-jerk about calling you anti-Semitic or getting deeply offended if you say anything that doesn't align with their narrative, that it undermines their own cause. And I have to tell you, I find it very irritating because I do feel like some of us have earned the right to have some credibility on the subject of Israel and don't want to be called those names when we have some mild pushback on some of the overreaches, whether it's whether they're winning or losing the propaganda war right now. And my contention is they've begun to lose it. And I realize it's propaganda coming at us from Hamas, but their numbers have turned here in America. They've turned, not so much with Republicans, a little bit with Republicans, but completely with the Democrat Party and with independents. They have shifted mightily from at least double digits highs to single digit lows now with when it comes to approval. And also, with respect to, you and I speculated about this at the Turning Point event, whether the possibility of Jeffrey.
I mean, let's be real. I don't like Hamas. I hate Hamas, but I mean, it's really hard to condone what Israel's doing right now.
Epstein possibly being a Mossad agent or asset or
Can't even
affiliated
do
with.
it.
That's been turned around on me too, to you must be anti-Semitic. What the hell? That's such bullshit. The same people who say you can criticize Israel, that's fine. We won't call you anti-Semitic if you criticize Israel. Now turn around immediately and say you're anti-Semitic for even raising that. I completely reject that. And I raise this as a pushback against my friends on that particular strain of the aisle to watch it, because you don't want to alienate people who are openly your friends by going nuts in your crackdowns on mild
Nuts is the
pushback
right
on
word.
anything related to Israel. Now you take it.
I'm so glad you brought this up, and I would second that, Megan. I think I have a bulletproof resume showing my defense of Israel, both on campus, on social media, to great, let's just say mockery and scorn at times, because I believe it, right? I believe in the scriptural land rights given to Israel. I believe in fulfillment of prophecy. And again, I'm not a theologian, but I'm
actually happy to hear this, because during the beginning, Charlie Kirk was biggest defender of Israel. But I did see towards the end of it, he kind of just stepped off the topic. And it did seem like when he started answering these questions on Israel, it seems like he was a bit unsure. I didn't think he was gonna ever make that full, revelation, but to kind of hear that he was kind of coming to it towards the end of his death, is a bit suspicious. It is suspicious, and considering how much power this man held with the youth, that power could have carried him all the way into presidency. Let's be honest. And if you're telling me that Israel pissed this guy off by trying to blackmail him and he gets his way to presidency, well, what do you think that means for Israel? It's just something for you guys to think about.
a Christian. My life was changed in Israel. The spiritual energy is so amazing there. I want them to win. I've said that repeatedly.
Same.
And however, Megan, you're hitting on something very potent and important. Now, let me first say, I don't want to judge an entire group, because there's been many people in the pro-Israel world that have been very sweet, very kind, very nuanced, very Charlie. You were with us. You don't have to agree all the time. However, and I will say this, the behavior by a lot, both privately and publicly, are pushing people like you and me away. Not like we're going to be pro-Hamas, not like we're going to, but we're like, honestly, the way you are treating me is so repulsive. I have text messages, Megan, calling me an anti-Semite. I am learning biblical Hebrew and writing a book on the Shabbat.
Nah, it's a rap, man. Look, the pro-Israeli side is being unreasonable when Charlie Kirk's an anti-Semite, okay? Do you hear what I'm saying? Look, an ex-U.S. Green Beret came out. Pretty much a U.S. veteran came out and exposed Israel. You guys said pro-Hamas. A nun, ugly as hell, but a nun came out and shamed Israel. Pro-Hamas. IDF soldiers, self-hating Jews, and pro-Hamas. And now what about Charlie Kirk? What you gonna say, Charlie Kirk? Oh, yeah, he was a great guy, but he died an anti-Semite. Come on now, we ain't going for that. We're not. We're really not now. Now it's reasonable to ask questions about, Israel, what you got going on over there in the Middle East? Why are you being the number one agitator in the Middle East?
I honor the Shabbat.
And don't call me anti-Semitic.
Literally the Jewish Sabbath. I visit Israel and fight for it. And there's another article out in the Times of Israel today. I could read it on air. I was just reading before I got on. Charlie, what are you doing? What am I doing? I'm sorry. Let's just take a step back here.
I can tell you right now.
Nope.
From the
And the veteran didn't get busted for lying last week. Actually, the Israelis got busted for lying. They tried to say that boy Amir was alive, and they showed a lighter-skinned boy with different color eyes, different set of teeth. I'm just like, so you're really going to try to say that this kid is alive when you're showing us a completely different kid? It was the sickest thing I've seen people believe. I was just losing my mind. No way. So you're telling me y'all wanted to believe anything at this point? Because I know what the lie was. Y'all are trying to say, oh, he lied about the kid Amir being dead, when no, he didn't. And then Israel showed this kid that looked nothing like him at all. It damn near is what type of open racism is this? You just find any Palestinian kid and be like, hey, look, here's a Palestinian kid. Different shade of color and all that good stuff. But it's all good, though. We Palestinian, right? It's what?
energy that is coming out of him, the energy that's coming out of Meghan is where I was 2 years ago. Okay. I've been there. You can't even lie to, you can't even attempt to.
At a certain point, I wish it was all a lie. At a certain point, I wish it was all a lie, bro. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I just wish it was, because it's too ridiculous. Like, I really don't want to believe people are this gullible when it comes to Israel, but it's true. I don't want to believe people are like that, but it don't make no damn sense. It just don't. And you are free to think how you want to think. You are free to express your ideas how you want to, but just know that the world opinion on Israel right now is that they are committing a genocide, and that what they're doing to the Palestinians is indefensible. Now, what they're doing to Hamas, I mean, is commendable, but when have we ever been for hurting civilians? And I mean, when have we ever been for trying to, what's it called? Collective punishment, which is a war crime that we signed under the Geneva Convention with. I mean, when have we ever been on that? When has that ever been the American way? I don't know. When has that ever been a Christian way? I mean, shit, what about being a Christian?
Lie to me about what is pouring off of both of them. I was someone who spent my life, my political life, defending Israel. Didn't really mean anything to me. It seemed like a good, argument on surface that we should support them. They're the only democracy in the Middle East. Okay, now I know that that's not even true. But like, who cares? I was just like pro-America, and I wanted to focus on BLM and getting Black America better. And then that happened. I said one thing, and suddenly, like, whoa! It was like they just line up. Like it's like Agent Smith. Okay, it's like Agent Smith in the Matrix. How many can there be all saying the same thing? And then they gaslight you. They make you think you're crazy because they're like, why don't you understand why what you did is really wrong? I remember this. I remember the tweet. I said, no person, nobody, no nation anywhere in the world has a right to commit genocide. And I was suddenly being flooded with messages from people, Dave Rubin. I remember this. I was like, what did you mean by that? And they text me, it's like, we can help you.
Wait, what?
You can help me what? I said something that made sense. Like, this should not offend anybody. Nobody has, genocide's not cool, right? Did something change? Where was I? It's when you tweeted it.
We can help you.
And like, you could have been clearer. You should have added that Israel would never do that. I'm like, okay, you guys are being insane. This statement stands. I was referring to Brian Mast's remarks, but even if
that wasn't even a popular opinion of the time. Like, that was not the popular opinion of the time. It was just being assumed everywhere, and everybody was like, well, look, if it is the case, then we condemn it, but we don't believe Israel is doing that. But everybody around the world is throwing that out there, and we're just like, hey, y'all chill out. If they are, I mean, look, we don't condemn it. If any country doing that, we don't like it. But hey, and that was the beginning. That was mostly everybody, even myself at the beginning. And as we keep going further and, the bodies pile up and the hospitals and the school continue to get bombed and water supplies and all that, now I'm just like, okay, maybe this is a genocide. Maybe.
it wasn't. And I just tweeted genocide.
Oh, and shout out to my man Hellbat. He says, fun fact, Antifa was founded in Germany. Huh, really? I did not know that. I'll be quite honest with you.
It is always wrong.
Shout out
That
Hellbat.
tweet should always be right. I can feel that energy. Okay. When you're not sure who your friends are, they're starting to gaslight you. They're making you think you're going crazy for having sensible positions. And there's no halfway house for this. Okay. I can tell you that. You're either going to take being kicked in the chest, okay, and told get out. And then suddenly they're all communicating behind your back. And just where he talks about that article, something goes out and suddenly it's like, what's going on? They're like trying to make you think you're going crazy because you're saying some sensible stuff. Charlie was at that moment. He says that he is receiving messages calling him an anti-Semite. So how can you lie right now and dispute it? And better question, why are you lying?
And here's the thing, much people like bros around Dave Smith. You don't think Dave Smith then read this man in on a lot of things about how one of the myths of October 7th was that it was unprovoked? And he kind of read him in on all the attacks before October 7th. I mean, there was a lot of things that people did not just understand. We did not understand about this whole conflict. And as the conflict was going on, people were learning new things because all we could just go with was, what mainstream media was presenting us.
I don't like little lies.
Uh-oh.
I'm being contacted by a lot of people that are telling me at just within 48 hours before Charlie passed away,
But I ain't gonna
his
go too
top
hard on
Jewish donors
Israel.
were pulling funding from him, demanding that Charlie take their name off of the building that they had donated to Turning Point. I guess I
Damn.
can figure out who that is, how many people could have donated a building. And then once Charlie was killed, they said, never mind, put it back on the building. Okay. Charlie himself had alluded to a tremendous loss of money coming in. And we'll speak about that more. More people are going to come out with information. This is all inevitable. Okay. And I'll also point you in this direction. You guys remember Bibi recently was on a PR blitz, despite the fact that he was, fighting this 96,000 front war.
And shout out to my man Maine. He says, "Commie on socialist violence, Antifa." Like, yeah, commie on socialist violence, Antifa. Huh?
Because Israel didn't do nothing. Okay.
I think I'm a little lost.
He was doing a ton of podcasts in America. He went on to Patrick Bet-David's podcast. He went on to Brandon Tatum's podcast. He went on to the Nelk Boys podcast.
I mean, bro, the man went to the most friendly places. I mean, pro-Israel. I mean, look, the Nelk Boys, I felt bad for them. They got eviscerated for like what the interview they gave this man. And they didn't really deserve that. Because I mean, like, let's be real. We're getting mad at them for what? Not grilling a world leader on geopolitical issues, which they never been privy on at all whatsoever. All right, then. I mean, Brandon Tatum, he could have did better. And PBD, well, I mean, he just wanted him to recognize the Armenian genocide, which was fantastic. But I mean, I thought we was there for, the whole Israel and Palestine debate. But hey, I mean, I guess he got what he wanted, right? Right.
Cast. He went on to Brandon Tatum's podcast. He went on to the Nelk Boys podcast. Anybody find it weird he didn't do Charlie Kirk's show? Tommy very quickly told us that Charlie was penning love letters to him in May. I just love you so much. It's amazing. They were so close. The boys just hits him up like, hey, I know we're fighting this 97,000 front war because we're always the victims, but do you want to just come and maybe stay at my place for the weekend here in Israel? Like, that's the vibe that Bibi was rushing to present to the media. So why didn't you do Charlie Kirk's show?
Yeah,
I'll leave it as a question for you guys. Common sense, okay? I don't like small lies. And remember, Bibi started this. I am responding to his shamelessness.
I would hope so.
Shameless misrepresentation of what Charlie was going through and what Charlie was saying. Because, and I want to be clear, to me right now, it feels, and I'm using a corporate term here, a bit like a hostile takeover, okay? Charlie builds the company organically on the basis of Charlie and Charlie's honest ideas. Suddenly, that company's got a lot of money, and Charlie's honest ideas are starting to change or maybe add more color. And now he's getting financial threats. He's being called names. He increasingly, he's being told who and what he's allowed to speak to. And he's taking a stance. He's taking a stand privately up to these people. And then it doesn't matter anymore because Charlie's dead. And those very same people who were pressing him are now doing, like, very quickly trying to set in stone that, Charlie, essentially, the energy is Charlie died for Israel. He's just one of us. Nobody ask any more questions. That is
like, I mean, they turned around like they wasn't just about to do the most craziest campaign against Charlie Kirk, trying to paint him as anti-Semite. Like, they were positioning themselves to go to war with this man. They found out he died. They were like, now let's act like he was our best friend. Like, we weren't just about to go to war with this man over, criticizing us about Israel. Let's switch up the tone, guys. We got to switch up real quick.
is literally untrue, and we're not going to allow it. Okay? It's just not true. I'm getting even more interesting tips coming from Turning Point employees. Something, again, that I didn't even realize until they said it. Do you guys notice that, like, Bill Ackman says this thing and drops the itinerary? But I've worked for Turning Point for 2 years. You've seen Turning Point in the public. Have you ever heard of Turning Point doing a weekend summit and not publicizing it? In fact, none of those attendees, you'll remember they were taking pictures in the Hamptons and all dolled up. There was this whole ring debate happening about a girl who had gotten engaged. I think her name was Sarah Stockton. And they said her ring was too small and they called her a broke BITCH. There was this whole drama that was happening, which we'll unpack a different day. Maybe I'll leave today's on this tidbit.
No, I covered that. I think it was with Brett Cooper. Yeah, her video was hilarious where the conservative girls were getting into it in the comments over what ring size. I mean, bro, it got hella funny, hella catty, and slightly racist. Slightly racist.
But those people never mentioned that they were in the Hamptons for a Turning Point event or for a Turning Point weekend, which Bill is saying. Why is that?
Women.
Were they told not to say anything about being at that event? Because Bill Ackman's being very open about it, but they weren't open about it at that time. We'll leave there. We will leave it right there. Okay. I will just add here that the response to me asking these questions, it is like, if you want to know why everyone hates like rabid supporters of Israel, it's because they never change their tune, right? They're like in the comments being like, Bill Ackman, sue her, take her money, just take her money. That's it. That's how we win. This is what they always do. They threaten to sue you. They threaten to smear you, to libel you. How dare you even ask the questions? This is this chick. I don't even know what her real name is, but like the gay who's straight is how she goes. This is like before Charlie died. I'm not kidding. A week before he died, this was her tweet to him. I'm going to show you how sick these people are. Okay. Do you have that tweet, Skylar? Oh, okay. Well, she tweeted this whole thread about how Charlie Kirk had to distance himself from Tucker Carlson. She was one of the people creating online pressure. Tucker Carlson has gone a bridge too far, blah, 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 blah. And Charlie's going to ruin his company. Again, there's always the threats. Always the threat of.
Now, Tucker Carlson was going. He was starting to go a little too crazy. He's starting to say, about the Israeli connection to 9/11. Like, hold on, bro. You might be taking things a little bit too far. And we'll cover that sometime on this show. But it's a very sensitive topic. Very, very sensitive. I'm going to have to save that one for a Rumble exclusive.
Money. And yes, she happens to be Jewish. Okay. And then Charlie dies and she's like, oh my gosh, I can't, this person I was just saying, like, light little, they do this or else to pray for Charlie Kirk. And now she's arrived at this Bill Ackman thing and she's sue her. Just sue. That's how we win. We crush them economically. We're sick of this. We are, all of us collectively, the globe, we're tired of you guys. Okay. It's always about money, threats, all of this stuff. It's ridiculous. Do what we say or we'll ruin your life. We're going to call up all our friends and we'll just start writing hit pieces about you and we'll destroy you. Do what we say or we'll have you canceled. We'll have your sponsorships dropped.
And that's effed up to do to somebody like Charlie Kirk, who just loves his family so much. So we got to stand with, all right, so how do I take care of my family? So can I tell the truth or risk not being able to feed my children? I mean, how does this work out? I mean, when you put a man in a hard place like that, that's like, I mean, that's evil as hell. That just speaks to their duplicity at this point. Well, if it's true.
Do what we say, or we'll make sure that you're fired. We'll put pressure so that you can't earn an income. If you're still not going to listen to us and you survive that, we're going to sue you for everything you have. You guys suck, okay? We don't care about your money. We are tired of it. This reveals who you are, not who I am. The truth should be enough. I've offered him my platform. If there is more you'd like to say, Bill, things you'd like to clarify, again, my platform is yours, even though I know you're so highfalutin and above us. He even says in that tweet, by the way, he says, like, speaking about how much, they just don't care about you billionaires. He's like, and the fact that she monetized her video, something along those lines, like talking about yesterday's episode. Oh my God, how can she read ads? Oh, are you the same Bill Ackman that made an absurd amount of money while we were in COVID lockdowns and we couldn't work? Are you the same Bill Ackman who like turned that into like billions? I'm pretty sure you are. So maybe check yourself, okay? I'm so sick of this. Nobody can make money but us. By the way, the person that was in the Hamptons, other people that were at the Hamptons that are all talking about this, said Bill Ackman got up and gave a presentation and told them that they shouldn't own property and they should give money to stocks. That's how they can be successful. They just want to rule over us all, don't they? Allegedly, that's what he said. Bill Ackman, you can reply. Did you tell people that they shouldn't own property when you gave your presentation on this now infamous meeting in the Hamptons, which wasn't publicized until I publicized it? I don't know. I'm just asking questions. Are we allowed to do that? Or are you going to sue me? You're going to crush me? You're going to impoverish us all? Why are you guys like this is my question. Laura Loomer in too. Like this is like how Bill, I guess, wins the argument. They're like, Bill gave money. It's all about money all the time. Bill Ackman says he's offering $1 million to whoever any information he has regarding the person who assassinated Charlie Kirk. And then she attacks me yesterday and she's like, Bill Ackman gave $1 million, Candace. What did you give? What did you give? I don't know. 2 years of my effing life to Charlie, helping him build things. Why is everything about money to you? Why do you think having money makes you a decent human being? Why are you so soulless? What is wrong with you? Do you understand that spiritually something is wrong with you? If your instinct, just so you guys know, regular people don't behave like that. I want you to know, because I don't think you recognize your own flaws.
That is wild.
When regular people have like a little tiff, they just have a conversation. Okay. So like if I have a disagreement and I say it's not what I did, I don't say I'm going to destroy your life. Okay. I'm going to make you lose your job and I'm going to sue you.
It's wild.
Okay. That's a demonic force that lives in you. But you have to know your money instinct is not right. It's crazy. And everyone's paying attention to it. Answer the questions and I will publish the truth. The end. Read a couple of ads. I said I wasn't going to freak out today. I did. Freaked out a little bit right there at the end. I'm trying to calm down. First, going to remind you guys about Tax Network USA. I know because I know.
Well, now we know about the guys who was pretty much pressuring Charlie Kirk for speaking out against Israel. Now we know. So pretty much Charlie Kirk was receiving pressure because he wanted to, I guess, not completely change his stance on Israel as a country, but change his stance on his opinion of Netanyahu altogether. And let's be real, I've heard that, well, that man never really even liked Netanyahu. And I've heard this from Tucker Carlson. You could take that with a grain of salt, but let's hear it from the man himself. Because, I just don't want to sit here and tell you something and, you just don't see it for yourself. Let me see if I can go ahead and pull my man up, because he definitely, gave my man his respect, dedicated a whole life to him, an entire life to Charlie Kirk, and damn near reminded us of what it means to be a Christian. And I ain't even the biggest Christian, but I support what Tucker Carlson was saying right here. So let's get right into it, guys. And let's make sure we support the stream so we keep the stream going, guys. Appreciate the support. Y'all been doing great. Let's go.
Hey, I'm Tucker Carlson. Last week, within just really minutes after Charlie Kirk was shot at that event in Utah, a kind of proxy war broke out over his memory. Who gets to own it? Who gets to use it? While the rest of us were still reeling in shock, trying to figure out what happened. A ton of people appeared online, not just in this country, to tell you exactly what happened, exactly what it meant, and exactly what we should do next. And you can see why. With this level of emotion, rage, and grief in the air, it's pretty wise to leverage that much energy. It's almost like nuclear power. It can be used for good or bad. And a lot of people wanted to use it. There's no question about that. So they begin telling you, Charlie died for this. He lived for this, and he died for that. So the crazier reaches of the left, it was Charlie was a Nazi. And the lesson is Nazis get killed. It makes sense. He was a bad guy who got what he deserved. And a lot of them said that out loud. Certain parts of the right immediately told you that actually this was about something completely different. Charlie died for Israel. Many began to say the prime minister of Israel said that. And so did a lot of other people. Charlie was a defender of Israel, which he was, by the way. And therefore, he died for that cause.
Yes, he was.
But none of these explanations, all self-serving, are really satisfactory. They don't capture who Charlie Kirk was. And on some basic level, they're dishonest. Charlie was not a Nazi. He was not killed because he was a Nazi. Yes, he was a defender of Israel. He didn't die for Israel, however. Why did he die? What was his life about? What was the sin, the core sin that Charlie Kirk committed against somebody, power, that got him killed in the end?
Trust me, there's a lot of lies going around about Charlie Kirk. Nazi, fascist, racist, white supremacist, all that crazy stuff that Charlie Kirk wasn't. It's just like, it's wild. And they're all saying these lies to, I ain't gonna lie, kind of shield themselves from their conscience on honestly celebrating a man's death. I mean, how else can you sit there and do it? The only way you can sit there and celebrate a human's death is by dehumanizing them. Every single time. It's just dehumanizing.
The answer is right in front of us. Certainly those of us who knew him. Charlie's life was defined by his Christian faith. not his spirituality, but his belief in Jesus, his life as a Christian. And everything in his life flowed from those beliefs. Everything he did, said, and believed came from the fact that he was, above all, a Christian. And that is and was, and in fact has always been, deeply provocative and offensive to the rest of the world. And why is that? It's worth thinking about it for just a second. Christianity doesn't seem like the kind of religion that would provoke people to anger and violence. In fact, it seems just the opposite. It's the world's most profoundly nonviolent religion, maybe the world's only truly nonviolent religion, a religion based on a man who Christians believe was also God, who, as he was being led away to be tortured to death on made-up charges, scolded one of his disciples for fighting back. This is a religion committed to love above all and to living in peace and harmony, truly. It's a universalist religion that believes that every person has a shot at heaven. It's not exclusionary at all. And so you would think it would make sense that if you're a government or if you're in power, that you'd want a lot of Christians living in your
country. And it seems like people want to get on this crusader energy, which was, like, in my opinion, the darkest days of Christianity, because it kind of went completely against it.
Because they're not going to cause massive problems. Not a lot of sincere Christians are fomenting insurrection at any given moment. Pretty much none, most of the time. They're tidy, they get married, they love their children, they pay their taxes, they're commanded to pay their taxes. So why wouldn't you want a nation full of Christians? Why wouldn't you encourage this religious belief, even if it wasn't yours? Why would you hate it?
Yeah, low key, I never understood
there are a couple
that.
of reasons.
I never understood that. I mean, like, even like I said, even though I'm not the biggest Christian, I mean, it got some pretty damn good teachings. Some pretty good virtues, too. I mean, let's be honest. You just read the book alone and you done got, like, life lessons for a lifetime. So I'm not really sure why you would hate anybody who followed that book. I mean, unless they did it with narcissism attached to it. I do get people get pretty narcissistic about their religion, but that's not all of them. And let's be real. I rather would take a fully Christian country more than a fully Hindu country, a fully Muslim country. If I'd put it in order, I would prefer to have a Christian country, then a Hindu, then a Muslim country, if I was to put it in order. But I would definitely go with Christian first.
There are a couple of things about Christianity, and these were evident throughout Charlie's public life, that are deeply provocative to the people in power. And the first is the insistence that Christianity comes with inherently that you are not God. You are not God, and neither are your leaders. God is God, and all of us stand before him in the end to be judged, and all of us will be found lacking. Christians believe the only way to heaven is through Jesus. That's the only way. But all of us, whether we believe in Jesus or not, are fallen. We are sinners. We are less than we ought to be. We are not gods, and neither are the people who lead us. And this has a lot of implications. The first being, if you're not God, you don't get to do whatever you want. There are limits. There are rules that you didn't write that you have to abide by. That's not a judgment. That's a statement of fact. Some call it natural law. It's been the basis of every functioning society since the beginning of time. But the basis of our society is the Christian understanding of justice, which flows from that belief. You are not God. God is. He writes the most basic rules. You abide by them, period. That's the basis of our law. That's the basis of Western law. And that is a threat, a challenge to people who would ignore the limits on their behavior, very much including our leaders and very much including the most powerful people in our society, whether they're elected or not. Nobody wants to be told you're not allowed to do something. And Christianity inherently tells people that. It doesn't judge them. It just states it clearly. No, you do not have the power to kill, except possibly in self-defense. But you can't just go killing people.
Yep.
And you can't go killing people because, and this is the second thing about Christianity that tends to set the teeth of the powerful on edge, Christianity insists that every human being is created by God, every single one. And that means that every human being has a soul, a distinct, unique soul created by God.
Yeah, which is, like I always do say, I know a lot of Christians who do the who have a very unchristian quality of, like I said, dehumanizing people. And that's just not honestly, that's just not the Christian way. That's not what Jesus taught. I mean, he said to love all and see everybody as a child of God. I mean, it kind of seems like we out here picking favorites all of a sudden. We know what Jesus said, but we out here picking favorites, or we out here picking who we want to see as human and who we want to dehumanize.
It is, once again, the only true universalist faith there is. And the New Testament is the story of this, an underread collection of books. That is not the story of the Old Testament. It's very much the story of the New Testament. In the New Testament, all people are God's chosen, every single one. And the story itself makes that point. The founder of most Christian churches in the early Near East was a former Pharisee, a Jew who was in charge of killing Christians until he famously met Jesus on the road to Damascus. His name was Saul. It became Paul, and he is the most prolific author in the New Testament and the basis of a lot of Christian theology. And his life tells the story. People can change no matter what they look like, no matter what they previously believed, no matter where they're from, no matter what language they speak, because they are created by God. And every person, every single person, whether you like them or their relatives or the way they look or not, has that chance because all were created by God and all were loved by God. That is the basis of Christianity. That's the Christian story. And so a sincere Christian proceeds with that belief. There is no tribalism in Christianity. There is no identity politics. It's the opposite. You may prefer to be with people who look like you. That's fine. But God doesn't prefer to be with people who look like you. God prefers to be with all people because he created all people. He's the God of the universe, not just of the people you like. And that, again, has massive implications.
I mean, yeah, that's the real difference. That's the difference between the real Christianity and the KKK version of Christianity, where everything's all about you just being white and Christian and all that crazy and all that good stuff. It's like, yeah, there's a difference. I mean, there is the real Christianity, and then there's the no, I'm not gonna bash them too hard. I ain't gonna say the Nick Fuentes version, but your white nationalist Christianity, like I said, the KKK version
that sincere Christians live, and for the way that Charlie Kirk lived his life. And the first is, if other people have souls, if they, like you, were created by God, then they have freedom of conscience. You can tell them what they ought to think, but you can't make them. You can tell them what they ought to say, but you can't force them. Christianity does not convert by the sword. It can't. It requires free will, and it requires free will because it respects the individual conscience emanating from the distinct soul of every human being. And that is why in the West, which is based on Christianity, our civilization is a Christian civilization, tattered though it currently is. Collective punishment, hurting people for the sins of their relatives, is unthinkable. It's a crime.
Yes, it is.
Each person will stand alone as he was made before God. And every person is equal before God, fundamentally. Doesn't mean each person is equal in his ability. It doesn't mean each person is equal in the choices he makes. Of course not. But it means that every person is a human being with a divine spark inside. That is the core assumption of Christianity. And
and that's why those Christians who want to champion collective punishment, I mean, I don't even know how y'all call yourselves Christian. I mean, I think y'all done lost y'all way on that note. Because even Tucker Carlson and a lot of people speak out and say it. I mean, they're going like, yo, when it's collective punishment, one, it's a war crime, and two, it's not Christian, but we got all the Christians in the world trying to support it. I mean, we got a high number of them. It's a bit scary, but hey, though, people find their way back.
It's obvious when you watch Charlie Kirk that he believed that. Charlie's been famously quoted for the last couple of days saying he abhors anti-Semitism. That is absolutely right. And he did. He said that in public, and he said it very often in private. He meant it too. But he abhorred racism and bigotry on the basis of genetics of all kinds because he was a Christian. And he believed that God created each person. Now, why is this a problem for temporal authorities? Why is it a problem for the people in power? Because once again, it circumscribes what they can do.
And honestly, that's kind of what separated Charlie Kirk from a Nick Fuentes. You know what's actually wild? I think people actually have Charlie Kirk's positions confused with Nick Fuentes's. Because like when you call Charlie Kirk a white supremacist, a racist, a Nazi, and all that good stuff, I mean, and you read and you say all of this, and you say what his perceived talking points. That's actually what Nick Fuentes be saying. I'm actually quite surprised you guys don't know the difference between a Charlie Kirk and a Nick Fuentes. Like, yeah, one tries to, I guess, talk up white people by putting down other races, and the other tried to bring all races together through, well, Jesus Christ. I mean, which one would you rather? Which side you want to be on? I mean, both are conservative, but both have a different, but each one got their own message.
It sets a limit on their powers. If God created each person, including the infuriating, annoying, disastrously wrong person I'm talking to, then I can't force him to repeat my creed. Mm-hmm. I'm not in charge of his conscience. Only he is. And that is a limit. So when Charlie Kirk said, I believe in free speech, he didn't simply believe in free speech because it was in the Bill of Rights. He understood that it was in the Bill of Rights because it's in the New Testament. He understood that's a right that comes from God, bestowed on all of us at birth. And he felt his job, his duty, was not simply to protect it, but to live it, to show people what that looks like. And I just want to play, of the many clips we could play of Charlie Kirk on college campus, he spent his whole life worn out most of the time. And as an older man, I often said to him, how the hell do you get on plane after plane after plane? But he felt an evangelical duty, small e evangelical duty, to do it, to get out there and talk to people. Why? Not simply to build a coalition or get this or that person elected, but because he believed as a Christian that convincing people voluntarily with words, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So the Gospel of John begins. Words are the key to winning people's minds and their souls. And he really meant this. He wasn't just repeating the words. He meant it. And it was obvious in the way that he interacted with people who disagreed with him and people who hated him. Here's one clip that tells part of the story.
Would you want someone who is not necessarily stable or ready to bring a child into this world and provide that child the life it deserves? Would you want them to still bring that child into this
Without
world?
a doubt, every life has a moral obligation to be able to live.
If I can't give that child the life it deserves, why am I bringing it to?
Got it. No, this will be my last question. I want you to think about it. If a single mom has two 2-year-olds, twins, and she wakes up one day and says, I can't do it anymore, I can't give them the life they deserve.
But that's just not the circumstance.
Hold on. Should she be able to take out a shotgun and kill both those kids?
No.
Of course not, because you think that would be objectionable. That's why I think it's objectionable to eliminate 2 babies that are 6 weeks old, because they're morally the same thing. One just happens to be bigger. One just happens to be older. One just happens to be outside of the womb. They're both human beings. And you have something in you that says, no way is it okay to kill a 2-year-old. That's called your soul talking.
You have something in you that tells you the truth. You can call it instinct if you like. Charlie Kirk referred to it as the soul. But both mean the same thing. You have the spark of the divine, God's spark inside you, and it reacts, it hums, it vibrates like a tuning fork. And you know on a basic animal level, like your dog knows, when something is wrong. You can feel it. And the whole purpose of modern society, it seems sometimes, is to get the rest of us to ignore what we know. That vibration inside us that tells us the truth. Always, it never lies to us. Charlie did not ignore that. And you'll notice that in the end, he appealed to it with that young woman. He didn't scream, you're a murderer, in his face, though he considered abortion murder, which it is. He felt that deeply.
Oh, he's standing
on it. Performance. He wasn't, another nonprofit phony in DC feigning outrage about something. He really believed that taking innocent life was wrong in the womb or in crowded cities, anywhere. He thought it was wrong because his faith tells him it's wrong, and because his conscience confirms that belief. And so does yours, and so did hers. So did all of ours. We know when something is wrong. And the people above us shouted us, no, really, there's an explanation for it. That's just your super ego barking at you. No. You know in your heart, deep inside, what every person has known, and that is the murder of innocence is a crime. It's a moral crime. And that girl knew it. And in the end, that was Charlie's appeal. Listen to that divine spark inside you. Listen to your soul speak to you. turn off the music, get off the drugs, push the distractions, which it's hard to believe aren't actually designed to crowd out that humming inside us, and be still for a moment and accept what you already know, what you were born knowing. Listen to that. Only someone who appreciates the person he's speaking to as an actual human being could speak that way. Notice how rare that is. It's been noted in the past couple of days, Charlie was a free speech champion. Absolutely, he was. And I pray that that's his legacy. But I also think it's important to explain why that mattered to him. It was not abstract in any sense. It was central. It was the core. Because consider what it means if you don't respect free speech, which is another way of saying free conscience, the right of other people to make up their own minds about the basic questions of what is right or wrong, and to express their views on those issues. If you don't acknowledge the right of other people to do that, and if you take steps to prevent them from doing that, what are you really saying? You're really saying, I don't think you have a soul. I think you're a meat puppet I can control. I think you're an animal, maybe sub-animal. You're a slave. You're a person to whom I can dictate belief. I don't acknowledge that you have the right to come to your own conclusion is another way of saying, I don't acknowledge that you're a human being. It's dark. There's nothing darker than that. And trust me, they believe it, the ones who've thought about it. And there are a lot of those. But for a lot of people, particularly those who are just repeating what they think they should say or responding to the momentary rage of the moment, they just throw stuff out. And we've got to hope that the Attorney General of the United States, Pam Bondi, is in that category. She said this just yesterday. Watch.
There's free speech and then there's hate speech. And there is no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie, in our society.
There's free speech and then there's hate speech. This is the Attorney General of the United States, the Chief Law Enforcement Officer of the United States, telling you that there is this other category called hate speech. And of course, the implication is that's a crime. There's almost no sentence that Charlie Kirk, and I'm not running the risk of appropriating his memory for my own ends by saying this, it's provable. There's no sentence that Charlie Kirk would have objected to more than that. And you've got to think the Attorney General didn't think it through and was not attempting to desecrate the memory of the person she was purporting to celebrate, that she just threw that out there, that she hadn't thought about it. You hope that. You hope that Charlie Kirk's death won't be used by a group we now call bad actors to create a society that was the opposite of the one he worked to build. You hope that. You hope that a year from now,
you'd hope and pray,
the turmoil we're seeing in the aftermath of his murder won't be leveraged to bring hate speech laws to this country. And trust me, if it is, if that does happen, there is never a more justified moment for civil disobedience than that, ever. And there never will be. Because if they can tell you what to say, they're telling you what to think. There is nothing they can't do to you because they don't consider you human. They don't believe you have a soul. A human being with a soul, a free man, has a right to say what he believes, not to hurt other people, but to express his views. And by the way, that thinking, and not to pile on the Attorney General, who's a very nice person, but that thinking that she just articulated on camera there is exactly what got us to a place where some huge and horrifying percentage of young people think it's okay to shoot people you disagree with, to kill Nazis for saying things they don't like. Why do they believe that? How did we get here? Is it the video games? Is it the SSRIs? Yeah, probably. But what it really is 12 and then 16 years of indoctrination in our schools at the hands of people who tell them that, who say exactly what the Attorney General just said. Well, there's free speech, which of course we all acknowledge is important, so important. But then there's this thing called hate speech. Hate speech, of course, is any speech that the people in power hate, but they don't define it that way. They define it as speech that hurts people, speech that is tantamount to violence. And we punish violence, don't we? Of course we do.
I mean,
they've been taught that every year of their lives. And so naturally, most of them believe it. So when Charlie Kirk is shot in the throat with a 30-06 on camera, I doubt very many young Americans want to see something like that or actually applaud the death of a man, a father, a husband. But they've been told for their entire lives in schools exactly what Pam Bondi just told them. Well, there's free speech, but then there's also hate speech, and woe to those who engage in it because it's a crime. That's a lie. And it's a lie that denies the humanity of the people you're telling it about. And so any attempt to impose hate speech laws in this country, and trust me, there are a lot of people who would like them. There are a lot of people who'd like to codify their own beliefs by punishing.
I mean, there's already been a decent amount of people who tried it. I mean, it got shot down immediately, or they withdrew it because, you know, people were catching on to it early. But yeah, people have tried.
Those under the U.S. code who disagree with their beliefs. Any attempt to do that is a denial of the humanity of American citizens and cannot be allowed under any circumstances. That's got to be the red line. Because again, when they can do that, what can't they do? And this is something, by the way, that Charlie thought about a lot and that I had occasion to talk to him about a lot. And I really don't want to make any of this about me because it has nothing to do with me. But I did have reason to have these conversations with Charlie a lot, many, many times over the past 3 or 4 months. And this began at an event that he held in Florida in July.
All right, guys, I got to go ahead and turn it in right now. But don't worry, guys. I'll probably catch you guys on later on today. If not, we're going to probably do the same time today. Well, tonight. All right, guys, this is S.E.T Media. I'm going to catch you guys tomorrow. Make sure you guys double tap the screen and like the video. And make sure you turn that bell on for next time I go live. Drop a click or drop some shorts, which I'm about to do in probably about 30 minutes. But all right, guys, you guys have a good one, and I'll catch you on the next one. Guys, today modern AI is quite advanced, except 2 problems. It is censored, and it takes your information. Well, it's hard to find a tech company that don't. But let me introduce you to one. Shout out to my sponsor, Venice AI, which allows you to protect your information and avoid censorship. Now ask yourself, why should a team of programmers at these leading AI apps be the ones to decide what is okay for you to ask and think? Also, would you be comfortable if the presidential administration could govern what AI tells you? Man, I know I wouldn't. But also, while you think about that, did you know that? Let me tell you this, it's gonna be crazy, but ChatGPT has a former director of the NSA sitting on their board right now, guys. And shout out to that man, Edward Snowden. He called this a willful, calculated betrayal of the rights of every person on Earth. And we all know how Alexa is. Alexa listens to us and recommends products based on our conversations. I mean, talk about a violation of privacy. But guys, these are just a few reasons I decided to team up with Venice AI and get you a better options or solutions to your AI needs. Now, guys, you can go ahead and check these guys out with my promo code. So shout out to Venice AI. Now, if you want to use AI without fear of handing over your most intimate thoughts to a corporation or government, you can get 20% off a pro plan using my link, Venice AI SET, and use the code SET. Man, so shout out, guys. So make sure you guys use the code. Put it one more time for you guys right there. Once again, guys, you guys want to go ahead and have unleashed AI, uncensored AI, go ahead and tap in with my guys at Venice AI, guys. Hey, this is S.E.T and appreciate the support. And shout out to the sponsor.